Good morning, everyone. Welcome along to the Ward Stormont here in Belfast. We are here for day two of the festival for the IP20 tournament. Second week, first week in Cork. This week we're in Belfast. And we have a game here between the Northwest Warriors and the Leinster Lightning. The Leinster Lightning earlier on have won the toss. Morgan Tucker on your screen there. He won the toss and once again has decided to bowl first. Bit of a theme in this tournament so far. So the Warriors will make first use of it. And as is usual, delighted to have Isabel Joyce beside me here. Morning, Izzy.
Morning, Ali. Good news today is there's been no rain while we've been at the ground. I was listening to the weather forecast and apparently it's, always a threat, but hopefully we'll get a full day's play in.
Yep, I think so. Looked at it myself this morning. Did say the same yesterday, so I'm not going to jinx it. But we're hopeful of no rain today. Should be dry, but as you say, this little climate here can't change. So Barry McCarthy to Sam Topping. Immediately beats him outside the off stump. Good match up this from yesterday. Premier bowler on show, Barry McCarthy, and one of the two, let's say, batters of the day yesterday. Philippe Leroux might have a bit of a contest with Sam Topping from the batter of the day yesterday, but yes, Topping against McCarthy.
Well, hardest worker for his runs, I
Definitely.
think Sam Topping wins. He had to do an awful lot of running. Wonder how the legs are feeling this morning. He'll be glad he wasn't the afternoon game, a little bit more recovery time, but he's a young lad. I'll be hoping he can score a few more boundaries today, I'd imagine, but we've talked about it a lot, a very different type of festival here this week in Stormont. We saw 6s and 4s aplenty down in Cork. Lots more running, a lot more in it for the bowlers here in Stormont. Brian McCarthy 4 for 14 yesterday, and it was, I think nearly all those runs came in his final over. So his figures before that were, I think, what was it, 3 for 2?
3 for 4, I think he had. He was absolutely sensational. He was really good up top. I watched back his overs from yesterday and really just targeted the stumps in that early few overs, and obviously with 3 LBWs, and the appeals were pretty good as well. Brings Balbirnie on strike, and immediately his ex-teammate gets the better of him. Little runaway down there, but David Delaney again. We saw one yesterday when he chased to the boundary. He's done it again. Good chase from Delaney. It's not easy heading down towards that scoreboard. He pulls it in and saves one run.
Yeah, really good chase there. And Barry McCarthy straight to Andy Balbirnie. Balbirnie was ready for that full straight one. Lots of LBWs yesterday, not this time. Have a look here. Gets it in and then rolls over the rope. A lot of the time, in days gone by, you would have seen people slide after that. But you take the rope if it gets that close, so he manages to reel it in and then roll. That's not comfortable, I'll tell you. Rolling over a rope is pretty sore.
Good lines. McCarthy again. Yeah, actually, it's a good point there about the fielding. We've seen the innovations in batting and bowling over the years, but fielding obviously has come on quite a lot. We see a lot of the catches over the boundary, throwing them back in, etc. But even that little thing, a lot of people used to go sort of hands and head first and carry the ball over the boundary with them. But you can see there Delaney gets himself side of the ball and is able to flick it back, and then himself goes over the rope. So good technique that they practice constantly.
That's well placed. Really good placement from Topping. Jogs the 1, but it goes for 4. So they've done well to get a little bit on top of McCarthy here. Bowling around the wicket, a bit too much width on offer.
Yeah, I think this is really nice from Topping. He's let that even come past his eyes nearly. We always like to talk about playing the ball under your eyes. He's nearly let that come past his eyes and played it nice and late into the gap. Used the pace, very nice. Topping, he's been in really good form for the Warriors. His club side, Morningstime, but the Warriors in last week and this week.
It's interesting to watch that little passage. Barry McCarthy putting his fielders in exact positions. He doesn't want to go for another boundary. 4 if you include the slip behind point. And he blasts it in front of David Delaney, who had just been moved out of that spot. So he just can't quite get the line right. Barry McCarthy, back-to-back boundaries to close out the first. A good start for the Northwest Warriors, 12 without loss.
Yeah, really good batting. Again, from Topping, that'll frustrate McCarthy, no doubt. As you say, he was very meticulous in where he was putting his field, and Topping was good enough to get it straighter this time. Picks up another boundary. Good to get on top of McCarthy. It'll be a good sign because he's the sort of talisman for this Lightning outfit. He kind of leads, and he's had an extraordinary economy rate, really. I think it's less than 5 already in this tournament. So to go for 12 off his first, a good little mini statement from the Warriors.
Yeah, totally agree. One change to the Leinster Lightning. Reuben Wilson being rested for this match. Matt Hollard comes in, but it'll be Melvin Deverage who gets the second over. Oh, well, that's come in an absolute mile. Cuts Andy Balbirnie in half. Great shape from Melvin Deverage. Just having a little chat with Sam Topping here to explain what's just happened.
I wish I could lip read because I'd love to know what he said there, because I was just about to say Deverage bowled really well yesterday with that little induckers, and that was more than a little inducker. That went right off the pitch. Interesting to see what he comes back with.
And again gets between bat and pad. Andy Balbirnie just has to have a think about how he's going to go about coming at Melvin Deverage here. What was interesting yesterday, one of Melvin's wickets was actually the left-hander, and it came into the left-hander, so he's obviously able to swing it both ways. His natural wrist position pushes the ball in. Training session happening in the deep, or is that a match people coming in for? Can you?
Yeah, I think there is a inter-pro game here today for the young girls. So Balbirnie may come down the pitch there to try and negate that. Yeah, there's an under 15 inter-pro game on the second pitch here at the Ward. So good to see that taking place. I'm not actually sure who's playing, but I'd assume the NCU would be playing.
I think it's NCU and the Northwest, because
okay.
the Leinster teams were playing against each other this week.
All right, okay.
There's 2 Leinster teams and then NCU and Northwest. It's actually something I'll have a look at. I like to keep an eye on who's performing at that level. Nicely driven. Half stop in the covers. There's an Evoke Super Series match happening today down in Leinster, and a couple of youngsters being included in both teams because the Dragons have already won that competition, so it's a bit of a doubt rubber. So good to see the teams. I think it's Sarah Prendergast, under 15. She's getting a go, and that's a name to watch out for the future. So I'll be looking with interest to see what opportunities the younger players get. Shiva Boja, also under 17. I think she's playing her second game.
Yeah, one we're really interested up in here. Played early on the IP20, Rebecca Lowe. We played at Lisburn. Really come on over the past sort of 12 months, and she scored 70 or 80 in that first or second game in the IP50.
Yes,
so very interested up here to see how she gets on in the Dragons, and how they've obviously done well so far in both tournaments. So, but it's important that you have that little, I hate to use the word role model even for a 15-year-old, but for girls to be able to see, the girls that are playing here today, for example, that you can, if you're good enough, you will get a go.
The ramp shot comes out. There's the away swinger to the left-hander. Just didn't quite get in line there. Topping. Good over from Melvin Deverage. Just the 3 from it, 15 without loss.
Yeah, certainly not straight up and down from Deverage. You couldn't really line him up there. definite movement. Well, you can see the two options there. Balbirnie came down the wicket to try and negate it. Topping decided he was going to play his little ramp shot. There's the scene this morning. Lots of trees in the background. Got the parks around here at Stormont. It's a lovely walk. If you ever come to Stormont, you can walk around the grounds. McCarthy again. Balbirnie. Not quite the appeal from yesterday. He just ran through with the finger in the air. You knew those were out, but not today.
Yeah, slightly muted, wasn't it? Does tend to stay leg side of the ball, Andy Balbirnie. Yeah, height was an issue. We could see that ball over the top of the bail, so you imagine that's going to continue going.
Don't forget we've got the women's. We're talking about the women's game. We've got women's internationals here at Stormont this year. One day international, so if we come up to them, as I say, spend the day at Stormont. You can walk around the grounds, parks, a little area. Pulled into the leg side. Man on the deep will cut it off and prevent the two. Seamus Lynch, who didn't have the greatest day in the field yesterday out in that area, but good start from him today. Cuts that off and, as I say, prevents the two.
Yeah, usually a wicketkeeper, Seamus Lynch, finds himself out in the deep. I think he exclusively fields on the boundary for the Leinster Lightning, as far as I can see. Gavin Hoey's the one on the other side. Very good fielding unit. Challenge on now to stop the runs going through the offside off the bat of Sam Topping. Good work from Melvin Deverage. He had to work hard to cut that off. If he hadn't managed to do it, it would have been a certain boundary, so he saves 3.
Yeah, he did really well. Anticipation we talked about. It's difficult sometimes when you're behind the bat. You could see there Sam Topping just running that off the face, and maybe he was able to see that that's likely to come to me, so he was able to get on his bike to his right. Got a hand down.
Bit of width, just about gets to De Freitas, who looks like he's done himself a mischief.
That's the second one he's done. He got one in the previous over of Deverage. He got a hand too, but that one I think he's more in the shin, has he? Not in great shape at the moment. Hopefully it's just a little impact injury. We'll see it again now. Well hit. Not the shin, but the look of that. He didn't move. Yeah, well, he does hold actually the knee area. Look at that one. So
yeah, it looks like the knee is the issue, and I mean, I've done that before where you get a ball on the side of the kneecap, and it can actually it dislocated my kneecap, popped back in. Wow. But it's very, very painful, and it'll swell up a lot.
Yeah, those ones in contact sport, when you get knee on knee, can be really painful. I'm just hoping that it is just the impact injury rather than more serious, but it will definitely hurt and it'll definitely swell. That's a good sign that he can actually flex the knee there. There's the magic spray coming out of the physio's bag. So yeah, just as I was mentioning there, the women's internationals here, as I say, Zimbabwe coming for 2 one-day internationals in Belfast and in a T20 series in Dublin, and then that followed up by Pakistan, I think, are T20 internationals for the women, and then of course in September the men of England coming for a T20 series in Malahide in September.
Yeah, that one-day series up here for the women against Zimbabwe. They're very happy to play one-dayers, I'd say, in Stormont after last year. Very successful series against Sri Lanka. They won 2-1. They had a rain-reduced victory over England as well that came down to the last ball.
Yeah, that was here for that game, and I remember it vividly. Lana Dalzell hitting the winning runs.
Like I feel like I can actually see it right now.
Right here, isn't it? It was right here.
Out of the sun.
Yep.
I saw a couple similar in England in county cricket in the men's game that I think will have made Holly Armitage, who was the fielder, feel a bit better. We're back out, sub-fielder in place. Work to do for Hoey in the deep. Dylan Lewis on the field for Chris de Freitas, who hopefully after a bit of ice we'll see him back out. It's important to this batting lineup. He's one of the few players who's looked comfortable right across the 4 days we've had so far of interprovincial cricket.
Yeah, he will be vital. Seems strange to say, given when you look down this sort of batting lineup for the Lightning, that Chris de Freitas is important, but he is. He's set the tone for them, and as you say, he's looked comfortable more than the actual runs that he's scored. He's comfortable in what he's trying to do.
Andy Balbirnie's been in the runs in general. He'll be keen to make a big one today. Good comeback over that from McCarthy, 4 from it. 19 without loss, the Northwest Warriors. They had a great win yesterday. Northwest Warriors batted well. Got to 181 for 6 in their 20 overs. And Barry McCarthy, unfortunately, looks like he's also suffered an injury. He's another one they'll be hoping can sort. It looked like a hamstring niggle halfway through that over.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of sort of stretching, but then with Barry McCarthy, you don't really know if it's just his normal routine. He does a lot of calisthenics, put it that way, early on. He has his routines, and just at the end of that particular ball, he just stopped a little bit. I mentioned it yesterday with David Delaney. That's why I always think that he's sort of run his run through. He's done an injury, but McCarthy has gone off. Short from Deverage, pulled into the leg side. Lovely shot from Topping. And he picks up another boundary.
Yeah, I just wonder, would Melvin Deverage do better staying over the wicket? I think bowling round, he takes a little bit of that shape away, that dangerous shape that's away from the left-hander that makes Topping look uncomfortable. It's definitely too short there, but bowling it into the left-hander just makes it a little bit too easy. Fielder in the deep has been brought in front of square now.
Push for 2. Indeed, they'll get it. Excellent running. Excellent running. Not sure he needed the little dive, but made sure anyway.
You don't know if you need the dive until afterwards.
Correct.
So you're better off doing it.
It would look a bit silly if you don't bother, and then we'd be the first ones to be calling you on it. And why not put the dive in? But good piece of running.
The ramp out again.
That on the Q end, so it just runs away for a single, but started well again, topping 17 from 10, and it's the 4th.
Slightly less explosive from Balbirnie than we saw last week. I think maybe because he's been dismissed in kind of without getting big scores in the first 4 games that he's played. He's a little bit more watchful.
Pick up 1 there. Yeah, maybe that first ball from Deverage spooked him a little bit. Just cut him in 2, and maybe just taking him by surprise a little, but it's not a slow start from the Warriors. Going at 7.3. It's not as explosive as you say, but the leg side, and it'll just be one this time.
I just rushed him a little bit there, didn't he, Melvin Deverage, in at the body. The 4 off the first ball really means you have to claw the over back. I'll be hoping to finish with a dot. Across the 2 overs is still started pretty well.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this in Cork. He's got these type of bowlers that are a little bit quicker than you think. Maybe skids on. I don't think that's where Andrew Balbirnie was trying to hit that ball. But it picks him up too. The end of the over. 11 from it. And the Northwest Warriors move on to 30 without loss.
Good news for Leinster Lightning. Krista Freitas is back on the field. Barry McCarthy is off the field. I wonder if he was put under pressure to get back on the field as Barry McCarthy needed a rest, because I think there's only a 12th here for Leinster Lightning. Might see Andre Botha putting on the
on the Blues.
The Blues. Or would it be Pete Johnson, which would be more likely to? I think it might be Pete.
Contest there. Rock, paper, scissors, I think, for that one. He's going to go out there, but hopefully not required. Good to see, as you say, the Freitas. So clearly going to be a change with Barry McCarthy. Probably would have been a change anyway, but Matt Hollard back in the 11 today.
Extra yard of pace from him. He's a busy looking man, isn't he, as he rushes back to his mark. David Delaney, the other seamer, might see him next over. Melvin Deverage might get a rest, and then we've got Gavin Hoey and George Dockrell, Harry Tector as well, that could come into the bowling attack.
Clipped off his leg, straight to Hoey. Yeah, options, plenty of options for the Lightning. Spinners have been good. Economy rate's pretty decent as well for the 2 spinners. Hoey and Dockrell's been picking up a few wickets, so I don't think they have an issue in the spin department. Just losing McCarthy, won't want that to be anything too serious. Driven down the ground and beats Tector. That's a lovely shot from Balbirnie. There's Philip McCormick. The groundsman doing the fielding, but lovely shot from Balbirnie. He moves to 16.
Lovely flowing drive. Just has to beat the man in mid-off. Doesn't try to overhit it. He knows the pace is put on the ball from Matt Hollard, who's, I don't know if he's lambasting himself or Harry Tector, but he wasn't happy there. Just too full. Harry Tector, or Andy Balbirnie, does well.
And again, this time though, Harry Tector does get across. Another lovely shot.
He tried to beat him on the other side, but Tector does well. I think the contact not quite as good on that occasion. Hollard's been probably too full in the last 3 deliveries, or 3 out of the 4 anyway. Gave himself some room there, Sam Topping, but
yeah,
he kind of picked the fielder, didn't he?
I don't think he was getting 2 there. He was calling 2-2-2 straight away, but I don't think he was ever any chance of getting 2 there. Straight to Lynch.
I think it was a little bit of badness in him, trying to put pressure on Lynch.
A little bit.
Trying to force the fumble.
Bernie. better length. That's you exactly. You're talking about better length there. In between, but he wasn't able to get on the front foot. And not a bad over from Hollard, just the boundary. Lovely shot from Balbirnie. 7 from it, and it's 37 without loss, with 1 over to go in the power play. And yep, there he is on your screen, David Delaney. Looks like he's going to take the ball.
Yeah, I just hope for him. Like, he tended yesterday in his first few overs ball too full, quite like Hollard actually in the last over. He probably corrected himself by the end of the over, but Delaney tends to, for me, just bowl a little bit too full when he's bowling in the power play, which I understand because he can swing the ball. He's probably looking for that swing, but short of a length is what I'd prefer to see from him.
Yeah, he can definitely swing the ball. Not sure whether you saw that volley bowling club game against Malahide. Back to that in a second.
Oh,
he swung that. Tucker's got a lot of work. Sorry, Tucker's got a lot of work to do. He can't get enough on it. Straight away with the 5 wides, and that's kind of what I was just about to talk about. He was bowling to a left-hander. He started the ball off leg side and actually swung back, and the left-handed batter left it. Hit him straight in front, so it swung from outside the leg stump.
A left-handed batter.
Sorry, a right-handed left-handed batter. Yes, sorry. It was the outswinger.
I was like, he's done it again.
He's done it again, yeah.
I mean, the other reason I was confused is because I've never seen him swing it from leg to off against a left-hander. But yeah. I actually didn't see it. I read about it.
You read about it, okay. Yeah, so I got a clip of it.
There's literally nothing you prefer better as a swing bowler, is there?
Yeah.
I think once I bowled someone around their legs, a left-hander, because it was a left-hander. But you never forget those wickets, do you?
Definitely
I'm sure
not.
that's imprinted on David Delaney's mind. Chance.
Yep. Hit was gone for me. And I think Sam Topping knows it himself from his facial expression there.
I think the fact that he didn't put the dive in means he was absolutely gone for all money. It was not a good run. George Dockrell attacked nicely. I think maybe he thought it was squarer, maybe he thought, I don't know what he thought, but if that hit, it was gone. George Dockrell knows it, everyone around the ground knows it. He's got away with one there, Sam Topping.
And the most important one, Sam Topping knows it.
Frustrating. Very frustrating for David Delaney. Good work in the deep. I think that's Seamus Lynch down there. Puts the full dive in. Saves 2.
Yeah, he's in the plus column today. May have been in the minus yesterday, but he's definitely in the plus column at the minute. Seamus Lynch, he's cut off a few 2s, but that one's definitely saved. 2 on the boundary. He is quite backward on the boundary with Delaney's pace, but still that was running away.
Four wides at the start of the over really put him behind, didn't it?
Yeah.
At least it was a massive.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those
wide.
ones you think, oh, didn't just miss my length. Yeah, it went a good bit.
Too full. Clipped off the legs, a stylish shot from Andy Balbirnie. Just a little flick of the wrists, uses all the pace from David Delaney. A very good looking boundary.
Yeah, we probably don't need to see the replay. We've seen this plenty of times over the years. Blowing full towards leg stump. Balbirnie's been doing that for a long, long time, and he doesn't miss out. He picks up another boundary.
Closes with a dot, which will please him. George Dockrell, a big appeal. Easy decision for Rowley Black down there. Not out. So an expensive over to close out the power play. 12 from it. After 6, they're just one shy of the 50-run partnership. 49 without loss.
Yep, as I say, Warriors will be happy enough with that. Again, the 0. Wickets lost, very important for this side. Thought they played a lot better yesterday in terms of their thinking, what they were trying to do. The Knights got up to 181 on the back of topping 71. Other guys chipped in on the way. McBrien, and then that little cameo at the end from Jared Wilson. But a much better sort of construction of an innings rather than just going hell for leather. Different ground. We're going to see spin. You usually see the spin coming on, but it's not going to be Gavin Hoey today. It's going to be Harry Tector. He's going to bowl from the city end.
Yeah, didn't get any overs yesterday, but he's straight in after the power play. Brought in to try and break this partnership. Of course, I said Rowley Black was on the field. It's Aidan Seaver who's standing at the city end. Dundonald end belongs to Mark Hawthorne. Rowley Black will be hoping he doesn't have to take too many walks out with the ball bag.
No, we saw a couple yesterday which were aborted. It wasn't required in the end, but he popped his head out of the tent. Definitely less steps on your Fitbit or whatever for the third umpires at Stormont than there were last week. That did bring up the 50.
Flighted delivery, I think that's out, as he swept it onto his foot, and then Lorcan Tucker
really
has got it.
Yeah, I looked first sight. I thought that he hit that into his foot. We'll get a good look at it now. Let's keep an eye on Balbirnie's feet here. His back leg just gets in the way there, but yep.
The only thing we can't see is did it definitely hit his foot and went up, but did it also hit the ground? Andy Balbirnie will say yes. I think Leinster Lightning will say no.
Right ball. Yeah, probably difficult to give from the. Well, it would usually be at square leg, but got a little edge on that. Demerad's doing the hard yards, but isn't going to pull it in. Bernie picks up 4. Just rub a little bit of salt in the wind, and I think you can see Harry Tector having a little bit of chat with Aidan Seaver. He thinks he had a wicket.
He's just saying, I'm coming round the wicket. I don't know what you're talking about, Ali.
I think it was a bit before that.
Changing the field. Barry McCarthy back on, and he's in short third. No mid wicket now for Andy Balbirnie.
Round arm action. Tector.
Fired across. Useful delivery to have in the armoury, just to sneak a little dot.
Much more classical this time, over the top. He's off on his bike, Harry Tector. It's a new Balbirnie was just looking to hit that into the ring for 2.
Yeah, useful to be bowling around the wicket when you've got that mid-wicket out, because as soon as he bowled that ball, he had his skates on, didn't he? Left-hander on strike now, so same field pretty much, but obviously on the other side.
Nicely bowled from Harry Tector there. Banged in the over. Still think he thinks he had a wicket on the second ball. 57 without loss, 7 overs gone.
Well, maybe it was just about a preferred end for Gavin Hoey, that he didn't bowl the first over outside the power play, because he's going to come on now from the Dundonald end. And Northwest Warriors, having not lost a wicket thus far, he'll be the man they are hoping can break the partnership.
Yep, be the first time this festival, and indeed last week as well, when I haven't lost a wicket in the power play. It's really important for them. See these 2 at the top of the order, lay on the platform.
Yeah, their bowlers really came to the party yesterday, but it was so important that they got that good total in the first innings, the Northwest Warriors, that set the victory up. Starts off with a googly. Harry Tector really in the action these few overs. He's bowled the last one into the action straight away on the boundary.
I think that point you make about the bowlers coming to the party yesterday, it's right, a one-off 7-over game sort of thing. But generally, over the past couple of years, I don't think the bowlers have had enough runs to bowl with for the Warriors, and it's why they've lost games that the bowlers are striving. It's been short totals, 130s, 140s. And the bowlers have had to try and take wickets up front rather than sticking to plans maybe to frustrate. And they're doing different things then. They're trying too hard maybe to take those early wickets. So getting that total on the board yesterday, okay, truncated game, it changed, but 180 is where they really should be looking for, and if we can do that today, let's see if the bowlers can back them up.
Yeah, totally agree. Bowlers behind the 8 ball more often than not. They would have enjoyed having 81 to bowl at in just 7 overs yesterday.
Shot from topping backward. Can only be 1.
Yes.
Work.
As soon as I saw him go down for the sweep shot, I had a look out at Chris de Freitas, and I'd say he took 5 steps before that ball was even hit. His anticipation is just so good.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Tim Tector, when he's fielding in the inner ring. There's the sweep shot.
Beautifully picked up from Andy Balbirnie. He uses his whole body to sweep the ball. Unusual in that. Oftentimes it's head position and then just the arms, but really uses both shoulders to help that round the corner. Picks the gap between the 2 fielders in the deep there, square leg and mid wicket. Probably a good length there, I think. Gets it in between forward and back for Andy Balbirnie. Good close to the over.
Yeah, orthodox leg spinner. That wasn't the ball. He just bowled. That was the 4. Again, I said about the clip off the legs. We've seen that from Balbirnie many times. You're right. Not a strange sweeper, but he does put everything into it. It's almost like his whole body moves around to hit the ball. He usually hits it a long way when he's on the sweep.
And it's one of the reasons why I think he's actually such a good T20 opening batter, because you often see teams go to spin early on, and top order batters often maybe aren't as comfortable sweeping, but that's not the case for Andy Balbirnie or for Morgan or Sam Topping. That's out. Yeah, you don't need to look at the umpire there. Move leg side, drag the back foot out, a little bit of turn for Harry Tector, and once again he's in the game. This opening partnership broken. It was a good one. Sam Topping goes for 25 from 21, and Leinster Lightning get their breakthrough.
Yeah, there is the breakthrough. Very nicely bowled from Tector. Very in his pace here. A bit of a slower one here. Again, the orthodox off spin. Topping bounced a little bit as well. He just dragged that foot out. Good work from Lorcan Tucker. He whispered quietly, he missed one yesterday, but he's made up for it today. Nice piece of work. And a different ploy from the Warriors here from what we've seen in the first 4 games. Jake Egan has been coming in at 3, possibly with the spin on at the moment. They want to keep right hand, left hand. That's Andy McBride, who has moved himself up to 3, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I just wonder, is it down to kind of the stage in the game? Maybe they get given windows of the innings that they, if it gets to the 8th over, now McBride goes in. If it gets to the 15th, if it gets to the 15th over, such and such is going in. Not a bad ploy, as long as everyone's happy to be moving up and down. Slip comes in now. Oh, he's saved a wide there for Harry Tector.
Definite turn. There's definite turn out there. I mean, I've obviously been at this ground probably a lot more over the years than yourself, Isabel, and it does take a bit of spin these days. Actually watched Gavin Hoy a couple of years back here in an IP20 game spin the nights out. Took 6 for that day and bowled beautifully. That's definitely spun there. Probably, as you say, would have been a wide if he'd let it go through.
Very good at taking boundary options away from batters, Harry Tector, by bowling around the wicket, changing his pace, keeping it away from them. All these little bits and pieces he can put together to get through his 6 balls.
I think both will be happy there. Andy McBride will be happy just to get that down to long off, but Tector also happy. Singles he'll be delighted with, having taken that opening wicket with the first ball of this, his 2nd over.
Deft touch, clever thinking. He was ready for the quicker one that goes across from Harry Tector, knew exactly what he wanted to do. Gets the boundary in the over.
Yeah, I went to the same direction as the boundary in the previous over from Tector, but I think this one was more definitive from Balbirnie. Kind of opened the face a little bit more on that one and ran it. As you say, picked the quicker ball. Tector comes back over the wicket.
He ran as soon as he hit that. Andy Balbirnie was very, very keen for 2, but good work in the deep from De Freitas keeps it to 1. You have to get it, I think, a good bit square to get a 2 there, but decent over after the wicket for the Northwest Warriors. 8 from it after 72 for 1.
Yeah. Just in the middle. All about each other. Balbirnie and McBride. Would have would have said, if you'd have said to me this time last year, Andy Balbirnie wouldn't be in a Leinster Lightning outfit. But very quickly I'm getting used to him in the Warriors kit. Very quickly. It's only been a few months, but that little green kit. Obviously, there's the green for Ireland, but he looks quite comfortable in his Warriors outfit. Tossed up, lovely play, and in the gap. Lynch won't get round to that one. Excellent shot from Balbirnie. Tossed up from Hoey. Comes forward and hits it through the covers.
This is a great shot. Brings the bottom hand through just enough to send it forward of Seamus Lynch, who I wonder had he given up on it a little bit earlier, then he decided might not be reaching the boundary, and that cost him in the end. Might be being a little bit harsh. I might be doing an alley on it. Better pace there from Howie. Tim Tector in off the boundary. He's actually starting a few yards in, Tim Tector. I think he's more alive to the fact that he's there to save the two than worried about it going over his head.
Bring McBride on to strike the face Hoy first time.
Sharp turn. Good running from George Dockrell there. Just runs a good line to stop them from taking that single to Barry McCarthy in third. Just
does the fielding.
Trying to think of when I would have seen Andy McBride and Andy Balbirnie batting together before. I know McBride has batted in every position pretty much for Ireland, but I can't think of a partnership between them.
Probably that time when McBride went up to 3 in the ODIs.
Was he not there because Andy Balbirnie had COVID?
Well, very well have been actually, yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Or is that Lorcan Tucker?
We'll get on that. Have a look.
We'll have that information by tomorrow. We have to keep an eye on the game here today.
Yeah, we're a little busy here. That's a chance.
Chipped up
Gone.
And he's given it away. Balbirnie just pushing at it. I reckon that was the top spinner from Gavin Hoey. We'll have to get him to demonstrate all of his different deliveries so that we can call them correctly. But a much needed wicket. Andy Balbirnie just starting to get motoring, and an important breakthrough for Leinster Lightning. Doesn't quite go big, but a good contribution from Balbirnie. He goes for 44 from 35, and at exactly the halfway mark, Northwest Warriors 78 for 2.
Yeah, we're just talking about these two batting together, but unfortunately not anymore. There's Hoy, and as I say, just a bit of a soft dismissal there from Balbirnie. You can see in his face he knew straight away that was heading only in one direction. That was the hands of Gavin Hoey. The second wicket falls right on those 10 overs. 78 for 2. Good contribution from Balbirnie, I should say. 44. Again, a wee bit of frustration you could see there that he hasn't just kicked on into the latter stages. Let me try and increase his strike rate again.
Yeah, both openers going within 2 overs of each other, or consecutive overs, will frustrate them. I think he was trying to just knock that into the leg side, but it just wasn't the delivery for it. And Balbirnie, you could see from the angle of his bat, he was thinking leg side, and then he just pushed at it. Survived that shout for, can we call it a cop behind from Lorcan Tucker, since it was diving kind of towards point,
yeah,
off the boot.
Probably wasn't behind the wicket by the time it got to him. He was diving for it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to have a chat with him later and see if off the record he tells us it did come off the boot. Hard back. Quick delivery. Goes through to Tucker. It is Jake Egan now. Just swapped over with McBride. He's going in at 4. Another one of those who's had a okay tournament. Hasn't really kicked on. Got 47, I think, in the first game. And the Warriors were victorious, but since then he's looked okay, but hasn't really got a score. That's short again. And McBrien's got a top edge on that. Flown over Tucker. No safer place on the ground.
Yeah, good, well directed, good height on this bouncer. You always want it to be maybe hitting the badge. Matt Hollard making use. Helped on its way. He's not perturbed, Andy McBrien. He doesn't care.
No, definitely not. Doesn't care where his runs come from. Andy McBrien, as long as he's scoring them.
Well, for some players, it's, you know, they'll be worried about that. They'll be thinking, oh, I should have got that in the middle and sent it square leg. Andy McBrien, yeah, doesn't care.
Nope, definitely not. Some of those players, I say. Talking to some of the guys from the Northwest and basically saying that if we could somehow transplant Andy McBrien's heart and spirit into all the players, you know, move up a notch. Well, actually, there you go. Johnny Kennedy's out, surprisingly. Not sure where that one has disappeared from because at the back of the tent here, and don't have any trees or hedges about there, so
I think it's gone under the scaffold.
Must have done, because nothing much else around there.
I love that I said Roddy Black was on the field. He's actually not here.
Yeah, Rolly's not here. Johnny Kennedy's third. We're just so used to seeing Rolly Black everywhere these days.
Well, I was looking at, from a distance at Aidan Seaver and thought, is he tall enough? Beside Mark Hawthorne, he looks tall.
Mark often chastises me for that they put him at the end where the camera is. You know, the camera can see above Mark, but they can't see above Rolly, so Rolly, you'll have to go down the far end there. If we've only got one camera in action, then Mark always comes to the end where the camera is, because they can see above us.
They'd love me as an umpire then. Vertically challenged.
Anyway, we're back with a new ball.
Oh, something not right there from Matt Hollard. I wonder would if Mary Waldron was still in the country, would she get all these gigs, because she's the perfect height for the end that the camera is.
Yep, perfect. All got the hats these days as well, the umpires, of course. Full uniform for our officials.
Nice looking shot, just for one. They've reached the total they were at exactly at the halfway point yesterday, Northwest Warriors. Well, they've just gone past it with that single. They were 82 for 2, so looking to set themselves up for something similar. They got 99 in the second 10 overs yesterday. That was due to very good running by and large. A couple of boundaries as well, particularly Andy McBrien was, his strike rate was really good, 32 from 20 for him. Ooh, that is a steep bounce, and there's not much you can do about that, Jake Egan. You've just got to say well bowled and have a quick look at the pitch, because that has risen. Just trying to fend it off, trying to save himself from getting hit there, and shaking his head there, Jake Egan, but he's got to go for naught. 83 for 3.
The old saying, not a great one to get first up. I think the bowler and the batter will be talking about that later on. Absolute beauty. Look at the climb on that, and that is fantastic. That's great delivery from the bowler, but not the one you want. First ball, that's really climbed on him, and he's, I want to say he's done well to get something on that. Just trying to get out of the way of it, and gloves it through to the keeper, and just one of those dismissals, a picture perfect dismissal if you're on Leinster Lightning fan. Really good from Hollard. And the third wicket goes. 83 for 3, and that brings Scott Macbeth out to the middle.
That's one of the reasons why you can't throw your wicket away in T20, because every now and then you get a delivery like that. You can do nothing about your first delivery to get that. It's definitely, if you're the next batter in, it's the kind of dismissal you don't want to see, because start worrying about the top half of your body a little bit. Another sharp one. Oh, he's just about got the bat down in time, and I could easily have gotten onto his stumps. As he hit that down into his foot.
Yeah.
Kind of limping there, Scott Macbeth.
See it here. Yeah, may have just caught that tip of his toe there. Doesn't look too comfortable, let's say. He has to face up now. Holland's on fire here.
Slashed away, caught. Good plan, brilliant stuff. 2 wickets within 3 balls. Scott Macbeth helped himself to a wide one, but he's picked out Gavin Hoey in the deep. Couldn't have picked him out better. And Leinster Lightning, whenever they sense a chance, they put the foot down. Scott Macbeth, an unhappy couple of days for him with bat in hand. He goes without scoring. Northwest Warriors 83 for 4 after 11.
Yeah, he may feel he's a little bit unlucky there, but the plan was there. That was the ball. Right outside off. Yeah, you can see he's picked the man out. He picked him out beautifully, actually. Gavin Hoey there. Does not have to move. But as I say, the plan was there. He's bowling quick. Picking up 2 wickets in the over, just as we were talking about. Second half of the innings, the Warriors looking to kick on as they did yesterday, and immediately break's been put on. 2 wickets in the over, really has set them back. Jared Wilson will be in now.
Yeah, this isn't ideal for Northwest Warriors, because Jared Wilson, he finished quite strong yesterday, 19 from 11, hit a few boundaries right at the back end, and that's more what he's suited to, you'd feel, certainly at this level. What they'd really like for the next few overs is a runner. Jake Egan would have been perfect, running between the wickets hard and working the ball around, just putting in the miles for 3-4 overs and then launch at the back end.
We saw that yesterday when Topping and McBride were in. Really ran well together. There's an example of it right here. Despite the misfield, they will only get 1, so that was almost exactly what we're talking about yesterday with Topping. May have got back for 2 there, and they really can add up, especially on this particular ground.
Yeah, I'm not worried about McBride. I think he'll continue to work it around. It's whether Jared Wilson's willing to go down the gears for a few overs.
And he's got Gavin Hoey to contend with here, first up. There's definitely a little bit of turn here for the spinners.
Nice bit of shape. For me, Jared Wilson just sometimes tries to hit it too hard. If he just looked to push that for a single, I think he would have done fine, but because he's trying to whack it, just loses his shape a little bit. Fetch from outside off, bunts it into the leg side for a single.
Yeah, that's the term there. It was a bit of a baseball bunt. Just knocked down to Tim Tector. Yeah, you were talking about, watching next batter in, watching that, but guys up in the top left-hand corner of your screen there, some of the Knights coaching staff, they'll be watching this very intently. They're in action this afternoon. Ball from Hollard and a little bit of spin on offer for the slower bowlers.
Very interesting matchup this afternoon. Northern Knights against Munster Reds. Bit of niggle maybe there from last week. They were carted all around the Mardyke by Stephen Doheny.
Yeah, they were Doheneyed. All right.
I think after the loss yesterday, they'll be very keen not to lose another one. Need to try and keep in touching distance of Leinster. I think that's if Northwest Warriors don't manage to get 2 wins on the bounce here. 12 gone, 86 for 4. Good over from Gavin Howie. Just the 3 from it.
Good stuff from Hoy. Bowling at the new batter. Not over. Just singles and 3 of them and 3 dots. There's your scorecard, and again top heavy for the Warriors. Topping yesterday with 70. Again looked decent today for 25. It was Balbirnie who was the top run scorer with 44, but they really need somebody now to step up. Those two ducks in the last over from Hollard of Egan and Macbeth really set them back. Got a rebuild now. Then they need into McBride. Pull, Brian, alright though, watches it well. Duckrell, it's his hands and returns it into Tucker. Yeah, it was a different game last week between these two. If we watched it, Warriors got off to a flyer. The Leinster Lightning did not panic. I think it's very similar today in terms of them not panicking, even though Balbirnie and Topping had that opening partnership of 50. No signs of panic from the Lightning. I think that's one of their greatest strengths, that they stick to their plans. They know that at any stage they can pick up wickets and restrict the run rate by picking up wickets, and that's exactly what they've done today.
It's going to fall safely. Just manages to find the gap, not on purpose I will say, but finds the gap between the 2 men in the deep. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Ali. Really astute that bowlers just don't panic. I think by and large the fielders don't either, but I think that's maybe because of, I mean, apart from the first day of the festival last week when they were missing 6 players, there's healthy competition between the squad that's there. Dylan Lewis is unlucky not to be in the team. There's a chance at mid-on, just giving it away. Jared Wilson, short ball works for David Delaney. Wilson just couldn't help himself. He survived the previous short ball, but it won't survive the second one. Delaney in the wickets now as Northwest Warriors lose another one, and an all too familiar look from their middle order. Wilson goes for 3 from 6. They're 89 for 5.
Yeah, that's disappointing for me. The ball before, thought he got quite fortunate. The ball before could have gone anywhere and ended up falling between 2 fielders. And again, goes hard at it again. Darren Wilson, that is his game, but I think you got to play the situation at times and just hang in there to a little bit later. 4 down at that time, and he said those words, a little bit given away there. Sort of did seem him only a matter of time before they'd pick up the 5th wicket. And they have done, and now half the side out. Still plenty of overs to go.
My question, I guess, for Wilson is, does he, before the short ball's bowled, is he thinking, right, this is what I'm going to do if it's a short ball, or is it just whatever comes, I'm just going to play my natural game, that old chestnut.
Yeah.
I'll just see what I do. and hope it comes off. It hasn't really worked, barring yesterday.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. The ball before it can go anywhere, really.
Graham Hume in at number 7. A very movable piece, this batting lineup from Northwest Warriors.
Yeah, he's been up and down a bit. Graham Hume. Delay.
I think just a little chat about the plans here from David Delaney. Just a few words with Harry Tector. Very good pick up and throw. Few in the game are as good as Harry Tector at picking up and releasing. Good over from David Delaney as well. Successful one. It's the wicket of Wilson. After 13, Northwest Warriors 90 for 5, and this bowling lineup has put the brakes on the Northwest Warriors. 6 bowlers used. No George Dockrell yet. The openers were good but wicketless, and it was Hollard who was the most impressive, 2 for 12. He's still got 2 overs left. Lots of options for Lorcan Tucker. He's decided that it's going to be Harry Tector. He's going to switch ends. The 2 left-handers in will be keeping George Dockrell out of the bowling attack and give Harry Tector more of an opportunity.
Yeah, it seems that George Dockrell's picked the black ball today. He's the one that's not had a go today. He's in a slip. Almost in the action there.
There were lots of modes of dismissal that were possible there. It was just a bit too high for the LBW. Hume doesn't get bat on it. I think they thought maybe cotton slip, but somehow manages to stay out there. It's the sawdust behind. Andy McBrien was ready to turn and go.
Yeah, it's been Hollard that broke it open with that 1 over, but do you think they've bowled well as a group? Partnerships. The Lightning haven't really given much for the Warriors to climb into.
Yeah, there's only been a few times when you felt like bowlers have been frustrated with themselves at not executing what they were planning on. Tector just seems to have the measure of Graham Hume here. I wonder what it's like in the nets at Ireland training when these two face up against each other.
He looks like he's enjoying himself out there. He's had a couple of overs here. His pitch is suiting him nicely.
The bowler in him will be happy there's turn. The batter not so much.
That's true. It's an interesting dynamic, is it, when you do both disciplines? See, you're a seam bowler and it's nipping around, and you know you're going to have to go out and bat on it.
Well, you're just hoping it flattens out a little bit in the second innings.
Good stuff from Tector, as I say. He seems to be enjoying himself with the ball in hand today. Just 3 from it. And that run rate, they dropped 6.6 up above 8. A good period of this Warriors innings, but now down at 6.6. 6 overs to go. 93 for 5.
And 5 wickets down just makes it difficult to look to score boundaries at this point in the game. It's still a little bit too early. You know, if you lose another one, you're really struggling at the back end. David Delaney will continue. Good plans from him. to get rid of Jared Wilson. Oh, well, that one's shot through. Lorcan Tucker just about got down to it. Will be won by, but I think he's actually done pretty well.
Yeah.
We've seen some leap, and that one skidded through, so definitely looking a bit more difficult to bat on today.
Yeah, just looking at the Warriors, we've been talking about it last week, and then obviously they played a little better yesterday. Not sure here. You got their line-up. Haven't really changed much over the two festivals. I'd like to see Gavin Rolson given a go, really. Cameron Millie's going to be coming in here at 8. He's given a roll for the last few overs, but I'd like to see Gavin Rolson given a roll here, maybe, and see if he can maybe play that little anchor role and let the other guys work around him, because they've got good hitters. Just, Topping did it yesterday, but he's at the top of the order. It's quick. And then he ends up on the floor again, so I'm not sure. Maybe give Gavin Rolson. He may come in tomorrow. He's been 12th pretty much for every game. Could be somebody to look at.
Is it a case of he's usually top order and they're happy with the lineup that they have at the top? There's this pretty sharp bouncer directed straight at Hume, just about manages to duck out of the way of it. They've got to find some way to score here. Northwest Warriors 18 for 4 in the last 5 overs. So very much been a case of the brakes being put firmly on by the Leinster Lightning. That being said, I just wonder if 140, 150 would be a tricky chase here. They've started really well. Northwest Warriors got a platform. Maybe don't think 180. Just think, okay, how can we maybe go at 8s for a couple and try and plunder a few at the back end. 135, 140 might be enough. You never know. This Leinster Lightning batting lineup has looked a little bit fragile if you can get a few early wickets.
It's a pretty decent shout. It isn't the 180 by the look of it. That's lovely. That's lovely from McBride. So the man up. He doesn't play too many ramps and too many scoops, but that was it. He was more upright than the normal ramp there. Just sort of let it flick off his bat.
Yeah, brilliant to bring the 100 up for the team. Definitely not how you usually teach that shot, but it's like minimal effort from Andy McBride. Gets inside the line, got the ball for it, but actually I think even if it had been shorter, he was in a position to follow it and flick it over Barry McCarthy at short fine leg.
It's the over. 7 from it. So in terms of what we've been watching, better over. Picked up a boundary. It's that penultimate ball. But yeah, I don't think, again, we keep referring back to the previous week when, 180, 190 at least. Don't think it's a 180, 190 out there, given the surface we're looking at. A little bit of turn, a little bit of movement. But what's Devereaux's move it? First overs. So, yeah, maybe do need to revisit. I'll try and if they get another go at 8s here for the last 5 overs, that would get them to that 140.
One boundary in the over. They'll try and come back for 2. I don't think it. Oh, they're going to take it on. It looked like Andy McBride had stopped, but he decided in the end, yeah, the placement was good enough. Graham Hume, I think, needed to give more information there because he was the one who could see the line. Andy McBride probably thought it was going straighter to Tim Tector. He's well off the boundary down here at long off.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, about the communication between the two batters, and you could hear lots of twos given sort of an indication that there could be 2. You need to get going on that first run. At the time it was, I think, McBride who was the running blind, but he still managed to get back.
Nicely chipped over extra cover. Gavin Hoey should get there. It'll be another couple useful runs, these. Graham Hume just getting into his work. He hasn't looked fluent yet, but those 2 shots will give him some heart. Pace off and clever thinking from Hume. Just punches it off the back foot. Good work in the deep. Tim Tector and David Delaney working together. Little flick up. Put 3 2s at the beginning of this over.
Yep.
Importantly, only one of them has been tight, so the second one isn't a full-on sprint by and large, so definitely not as tiring. Straight to George Dockrell in extra cover. I think he might have just worn that on the shin.
Oh, that's close.
Reckon the bat saved him there. There was just a little sounded like a little nick. Docker right back on the ring, so they'll finish with a single. Couple of handy dots there from Harry Tector. Just pulls the over back Leinster's way, 7 from it, 107 for 5.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When you see 3 2s at the start, no boundaries, 3 2s. The second half of the over then dictates where it goes in, and as you say, a couple of dots and a single, just drag it back for the Lightning. Just 7 coming from it in the end.
Changing his bowlers around, Lorcan Tucker, he's giving Matt Hollard another over. Brian McCarthy warming up in front of us here. He's presumably going to come back on. We've got Gavin Hoey as well, he's got overs in the tank. So Melvin Deverage gets to open the bowling. It looks like he probably won't come back. You'd imagine Hoey will bowl his final, and McCarthy as well.
Yeah, obviously with that little period off the ground, McCarthy come back. He's right in front of us here, going through his stretches, so he looks like he's going to bowl okay. Nice shot from Hume, but it'll only get him 1.
He's in a funny position here, isn't he? Brian McCarthy's between the boundary and the 30-yard circle. Mid-off and mid-on, up inside the ring. So he can't afford to get too full. Matt Hollard. McBride very good over the top. Well, he looks to try and get it over the top, and gets absolutely none of it.
I think he was halfway back to the pavilion there when he hit that, and then sort of thought, oh, I actually haven't hit it at all. I'm going to get away with it.
Probably could have run a single while he was at it. It was in the air
got
that
one.
long.
Yeah.
Have that quick little look at the bat. Come on. Helps it into Barry McCarthy's hands, who drops it. He was put in exactly the right position. Maybe the line just not quite right, but the distance away was exactly where he needed to be. Made good ground, got the hands to it, and just popped out. Very difficult catch, but one he would have expected to take.
Yeah, a little smile from Morgan Tucker. We'd mentioned about a little bit of a different position halfway between the circle and the boundary. Normally, fine leg, you're either back on the rope or up inside the circle.
Well, whoever's idea it was to put Barry McCarthy there would have been thinking, oh, it's really come off. That's a real plan come off. apart from the fact that it wasn't caught, obviously.
Yep. Maybe the shot before in the previous over where he had just flicked one over the man inside. Just thought that was a possibility, and lo and behold, the ball was a shorter ball, so McBride was actually pulling the ball, top edged it. But the catch went down.
All the boundary fielders, bar third, are well in off the rope. Just gives you an indication of maybe a lack of pace off the pitch here in Stormont. Just tries to muscle that McBride. Ball in good hard length, Matt Hollard. I just think McBride may be a little bit guilty of looking for boundaries. It's just not been there to hit over the top. Maybe should be focusing on getting it between the boundary fielders and running twos, which he did so well yesterday. But because we're at the back end, it's seared in the brain. Boundaries.
Yeah, got to get 4s and 6s.
Good finish. Oh, a wide. That's harsh.
That is tight. The angle maybe going against him there. Just when it passed the bat.
I reckon if Graham Hume was bowling that, he'd be given a good old stare right now. But he's the man with the bat in his hand. Yeah, that's not a wide.
No.
That has passed Graham Hume well inside the wide line. So once again, a batter's game.
Well, it'll all depend on this ball.
Well, that's definitely a wide.
Yep. That one I think is fair enough, but it's just the angle as it goes. So it'll basically depend on this ball now. He gets hit for 4.
Watch him ball another wide now, and you'll
fuming.
have to say the
I'll
same
say
thing
that
again.
Please don't do it, Matthew.
Short and straight, and it'll be costly. Melvin Deverage is down there, does well. They'll come back for the second. Oh, if that had hit, that was out by a very long way, but they've taken the risk and it's come off. So the last ball between wides and twos has gone for 4.
Yep, so it did cost a few runs. And it's 115 for 5, 3 overs to go. Just going to try and eke out many runs. Seems a fairly obvious statement to say, but trying to eke out a few runs here in these last 3. Give those bowlers some of the ball out. There is assistance in the surface for the bowlers. We've seen that for 2 days now. Many more wickets than we saw in Cork, and definitely batters can't set themselves to hit down the ground as easily as they did last week. So McCarthy, delighted to say he'll be back. Just walking past us is the Ireland bowling coach. He'll be as delighted as anybody to see McCarthy back bowling. A change of ends for him. Coming on now from the Dundonald end.
It's back to looking for twos here for the 2 left-handers. Hume, I reckon if that had been hitting once again, he was in a bit of trouble. So the fielders at this point, it might be worth them actually looking to hit the stumps rather than just get the ball back in as quickly as possible, because no matter what, these 2 batters are taking off. So take that extra maybe split second to get the feet right. Forget about the bowler. Try and hit the stumps.
Yeah, try and affect the run out.
Well bowled. Full Yorker length. Just the single.
Yeah, we saw this last week a couple of times from McCarthy. He was coming back in the 18th and 20th or 17th and 19th to bowl his last two. He definitely went through a lot more variations. We even saw the old zigzag run up at one stage.
I'd forgotten about that.
Which really threw me. I wonder if he'd bring that out of the locker again one time.
Good execution, the full wide one, manages to keep it in. I think for the umpires, if you're trying to make sure they don't give a wide, the fuller it is, the better, because they can actually see the ball bounce inside that wide line very close to the batter. It's the ones that, from someone the pace of Matt Hollard, that pitch quite short and then you can't tell when it's crossing the wide line. That can be difficult to call correctly.
All about depth perception, really. McCarthy in again. Slower ball up in the air. Will he call it? McCarthy's going to take it on himself. He catches his own just about.
It's always the way. Don't know which one was easier. A bit of a wry smile. It was the other batter that he dropped. It was McBride on 16 that he dropped in kind of a, I suppose it was fine leg just off the boundary. But Hume goes for 15 from 20. Useful contribution from him. Northwest Warriors 118 for 6. That was the slower ball from Barry McCarthy out the back of the hand, looking to whip it leg side, leading edge. Calls it early, and Matt Hollard, well, at least he can laugh. He was the bowler that should have had a wicket by his name. McBride should have been gone, but good to see he's still smiling. Cameron Melly out at number 8, and I wonder how important this is, this innings, to keep him in the team. Ali McCalmont calling for Gavin Ralston to be given an opportunity. No better way to stay in the 11 than to perform.
Yeah,
when you're given the opportunity.
He did it here last year against the Knights, where he came in and they were chasing 10, 11 and over. And he whacked it all round Stormont. He can do that again here. Won't be easy, but he's off the mark. Again, De Freitas is really quick. It's just maybe would extend the batting depth for the Warriors with that change, maybe. And you know, you would get a Jared Wilson coming in at 7, Hume maybe at 8. It might just extend the innings a little bit longer. If you had a Jared Wilson coming in right now, that's his role. Coming in at 12, overs down. As we mentioned earlier, it doesn't seem to be able to change to a let's knock it around for 1s and 2s. Something like that, maybe.
I wonder if they would have been better having Hume in then and then Wilson in.
Yeah, I think they tried that last week once, and maybe.
I think they did it yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big bouncer. Just about manages to get there. Lorcan Tucker
Well done, Tucker.
has a big
there.
smile. That's knocked the cobwebs out if there were any left. Big stretch from him. So attempting the bouncer, really did get the bouncer, but I wonder if there's anyone in the Interpros that would have been tall enough for that to actually not be a wide.
That just reminds me of a clip I saw the other day, way back in the 80s, between Botham and Viv Richards. Back to that in a second. For one, yeah, Botham and Richards obviously very good mates. Played at Somerset, but Botham bowled him a bouncer, and Viv Richards must have walked 17 yards down the wicket and just tapped the wicket. And Botham just told him to keep coming, keep coming. It was really funny. He was almost at the non-striker when he was tapping the ground. So, yeah, you got to pitch it at your feet to get it above my head. That one was pretty high, let's say.
Back to Gavin Ralston. So, what number are you thinking he should go in? 5, 6?
Well, I mean, you were mentioning he's a top order player. He does open the batting in the club game.
I don't think he's going to be getting in the top.
But he's not. No, he's not going to go in there. But then, you know, you look at Tim Tector. He opens the batting for the Lightning, but then plays at 5. So it's roles. You know, I just think there's a place for him in the team where he could be given a role to. And we talked about flexibility then. If the top 2 come off, maybe he does drop down. But if there's There's wickets going, as we mentioned earlier. This is the first time that they've gone through a power play without losing a wicket. So it frees up maybe them as well to say, I've got an extra batter in here, to say that if we do lose one or two, we've got a guy coming in. That will not be easy. Maybe coming in a bit of pressure, but I just think it would extend and give maybe the upper two openers an opportunity to be a bit freer.
McBride just frustrated there. He danced down, got good contact, just couldn't beat Matt Hollard an extra cover. Yeah, so he'd have to come in and play kind of a floating round. No, it's definitely not going to be easy, but I'm sure he'd take it with both hands. He's watched a lot of cricket from the sideline, but Cameron Melly has the spot at the moment. He's out in the middle at the non-striker's end. Changing the field, long off goes back, point comes in. I wonder will we see another bit of an invention from McBride. Yes, the upright reverse sweep, if you don't mind. What a shot that is. David Delaney had to be full, fine and third in the ring, and Andy McBride is inventing new shots here.
Well, perfectly called. The coach that is Isabel Joyce, she knew that was coming, and Andy McBride, as you say, very innovative there. Two fielders behind the wicket, up in the circle. And McBride gets it over the leg side. Much needed boundary.
Over the leg side.
Leg side, what did I say?
Over the offside. You said the leg side, it was over the offside. Yeah. But he did switch his hands round, so it can get confusing. I would guess if he was he a right-hander at that stage? He didn't switch his hands, did he? Point back in the ring again. A short ball. So the double bluff from David Delaney. I just wonder, maybe square leg could be the man who comes in for David Delaney. Leave your point out. Just make sure you bowl on one side of the wicket. At the moment he's got cover, long off, long on, mid-wicket square out. Now Fine goes out, which is a better plan. Bowl at half the field. He has to bowl this straight at McBride, but he's got lots of protection on the leg side. Nobody saving the single.
Yeah, changed it again now. Just as she'd got that set, they've changed it again.
Still bowling at half the field though. All the field is in the boundary at the back half, so he's got to be short. So he's just got McBride off strike, which is the main job. Melly, he'll come back for two. Little fumble in the deep from Barry McCarthy, hands McBride a second.
Yeah, just that little fumble, as you say, just hit the hands and popped out, and that was all that McBride needed. He was looking for two. Again, that's just a little tip for the youngsters out there. Always looking for two.
Yeah, when he hit that to McCarthy, he could see it when it was going straight to him, but he didn't care. He ran really, really quickly. The first one turned and went, and especially if you're running from the strikers end to the non-strikers, if it goes down to that area, you turn and you set off, and if it's not there, you can always make your ground again. Helped leg side, whipped between those two fielders. They're not very far apart, but he's found the gap, and this could be the over they need to just try and help them towards that 140, 145 we said might be a tricky chase.
Yep. Step back the leg, and he followed him a little bit, but McBride was good enough. Gets it in the gap. Good contact. A couple of boundaries in this over. As you say, just getting them up around that 140, 145 mark. Will Delaney come back with last ball of the over?
Very good finish.
Yeah.
Gave himself room on the leg side. Delaney kept it away from him. A dot to close, but 10 runs, 10 valuable runs from the penultimate over. 6 deliveries left to see if Cameron Melly can get a few away.
Yeah, he's only faced one delivery since he came in. Not easy. Hit the ground running. It'll be McCarthy, surprisingly. He's going to bowl the last. 1 for 22, his current figures. thing's for sure. He'll have a plan. These last 6 deliveries. It looks like he's just telling David Delaney exactly what that plan is.
Well, you might be lambasting him for those couple of boundaries.
Yeah.
So mid-off goes back, mid-on goes back, mid-wicket and square are currently out. Well, mid-off comes back inside the ring, so 45 in the ring, but everyone else on the leg side out. Cover as well.
That's good contact from Melly. Gets it backward, and that goes away for 4, so a good start to the over for the Warriors. Exactly what was required.
Yeah, out the back of the hand, but very good bat speed from Melly. Sends it backward of the fielder in the deep, and Seamus Lynch can't cut it off. Interestingly, 5 fielders in the ring for Leinster Lightning. Mid-off, extra cover, point, third and 45 in the ring. So they're trying to keep Melly on strike. Could work in his favour. Right up at the block hole. Harry Tector does well right off the boundary. Throws to Melly's end. Excellent running. Those few boundaries have just pushed the Leinster Lightning fielders back ever so slightly, so it's opened up a few more 2s.
Yeah, all those little things that just add up to a score. It's not all about boundaries. We mentioned that a few times, and it's a really good point that they've just picked up a couple of boundaries, but now are picking up more 2s as well.
Good bouncer, serve bouncer, and just wonder, a wide, I reckon that's harsh. Oh, I don't have the best angle to see from this end in particular, but I think that's tight.
We'll get a look at it here. I agree with you. Are we both right or both wrong? Well, I think that's okay.
Inches. I just wonder, is it slow over rate here from Leinster Lightning? Means they have to have 5 in the ring for this final over. It doesn't seem like something that they would do on purpose at this stage in the game. Boundaries are what Northwest Warriors will be looking for. They've already got 7, 4 balls to come. Well, dug out, but straight back to McCarthy.
Yeah, well bowled. That's the area.
I'm kind of surprised Cameron Melly's not expecting it in at his leg stump, considering the field that's set. Just one man in the deep on the leg side. McCarthy's going to be aiming to get it in at leg stump. Should really be set up for that. I'm thinking maybe I can get it between the fielders in the deep.
Yeah, from our angle here, we can see diagonally on the offside 3 Leinster Lightning fielders. And the offside throw in. Backward point, short third. There he does drag that leg side, but straight to Hoy again. Good safe hands from Gavin Hoy. Takes the catch. And he goes bright and breezy 7. That's his role though in this team. Come in, try and hit boundaries, but McCarthy picks up another wicket. Cameron Melly goes for 7.
Just cramped up for room, and again I think he should have just been set up for this delivery. Gets pretty good contact, but if he'd been expecting that, maybe he could have got the extra few yards, sent it over Gavin Hoey's head. Little shimmy there from David O'Sullivan. It's not too warm here, but I don't know if it's a chilly shiver, little shimmy, or I'm getting myself ready for batting. He's got a couple of deliveries here to see, can he get above 140? We reckon that's actually going to be difficult enough to chase down.
I wonder, is that his Joss Butler.
I was going to say, it reminds me of Joss Butler does it right before.
He does it every ball nearly, you know, especially when he's going to pump one into the stands. He's got a little shimmy. Let's see if David O'Sullivan can do something that Joss Butler regularly does. Tries to. But I think Harry Turner will cut this one off. They'll go to the far end. Trouble.
Yeah, he's short of his ground. I think McBride should have just taken the single, faced the final delivery. He's asking David O'Sullivan, why didn't you say no if you didn't feel like you were going to get there? He's actually lucky for Leinster Lightning that ball crept through. He'll get the one beside his name because he'll get the first run that he ran, but the second one won't go. It's just not as quick as Cameron Melly, who's very quick across the ground. This just about gets in front of O'Sullivan.
Yeah, it didn't need to be the perfect throw, but it was. And we could call that from a long way out, really. David O'Sullivan has one ball, gets himself one run, but loses his wicket. That brings Robbie Miller out at number 10.
Perplexing that last ball, because McBride could have easily just taken the single. He'd be facing for the final delivery. As it is, the new man will have to try and hit it to the rope. Does well, really well, manages to beat point. So it'll race over the boundary. Does his job, Robbie Miller. 4 from 1 and gets them above 140. 143 for 8, which after the start they got, they would have been aiming higher, but once you had a look at conditions and how difficult it was for new batters coming out, 143 is not a bad return. Something that the Northwest Warriors, if they bowl as well as they did yesterday, they'll feel they can defend. Just too wide here from Barry McCarthy.
Yeah, Robbie Miller gets a little pat in the back from his skipper. Excellent contact to get it away. Boundary off the last ball. Can't be asking any more than that from his number 10. There, your card for the Warriors. Again, as we've talked about, a little bit top heavy with topping up Balbirnie, putting on a half century for the opening partnership. After topping went in Kim McBride at 3, he promoted himself. He ended up with 33. Balbirnie with a top score of 44, but again, not much in that middle order, with Egan and Macbeth going for naught. Just Hume with 15 at the bottom of the order.
Good partnership to start off with. The first time they've gone through the power play without losing a wicket. Balbirnie and Topping look good for their 64, and then handy partnerships between McBride and Hume of 29 and McBride and Melly of 20 help to elevate their total above 140.
And there's your Lightning bowling card. 6 used today. Everybody picking up a wicket apart from Melvin Devaraj. I thought they bowled well in partnerships. There's a little bit out there for the bowlers. Hoey again, 3 overs, 1 for 16, and Tector 1 for 26 with spin. Matt Hollard was the one who broke it really open with that over, where he picked up 2 in the over and finished with 2 for 20.
So it's even Steven at the halfway point as the Warriors were inserted. They managed to get to 143 for 8. It's going to be a tricky chase for the Leinster Lightning to see can they retain their spot at the top of the ladder. Join us in a couple of moments for the second half. Welcome back to the ward at Stormont here in Belfast for the second innings of Game 9. It's Leinster Lightning versus Northwest Warriors. And after a little flurry at the end of the innings, Northwest Warriors managed to get to 143 for ace, so it's 144 for victory for the Leinster Lightning. And that might seem a little bit low, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. They'll probably look to attack the power play and see if they can make a big dent in their target here, with two informed batters at the top for Leinster Lightning. Tim Tector and Chris de Freitas have been good in the festival last week down in Cork, and well, maybe not as successful yesterday, truth be told, in their game against the Munster Reds. 17 for Tim Tector, 39 though for Chris de Freitas, which was probably the best knock for them. Graham Hume's been in good form at the ball though as well, slip in place, and we're underway.
Off the mark straight away, Tim Tector. A little bit of slip from Cameron Melly, but no damage done. Yeah, these two have been standouts for the Lightning in this tournament so far. Tucker did get 44 yesterday, but these two are well clear at the top of the run charts for the Lightning.
It's kind of been the story of the tournament, hasn't it? The players just below the top 6 or 7 batters in the country have been the ones performing. Andy Balbirnie has done pretty well, but he's of course not in that T20 team at the moment.
Squares to free us up a little bit. Yeah, it's something we talked about sort of pre-game. Current top 6 for Ireland. If you take Tim Tector out of that, possibly Camp would come in. Haven't been scoring a lot of runs in this tournament so far. But I think the point you make about the power play here, just 2 out in the first 6. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Full value for that if you beat the inner field, which Tim Tector does there. Pick up your boundaries.
Have a look at this balance. Too wide from Graham Hume, but look at this balance from Tim Tector. Gets the head towards the ball, gets the hands through quickly enough so that it goes forward that fielder in the deep. And sometimes when you've been batting as often as Tim Tector has in matches, and for as long as he has, you just start off like that. Oh, just a little bit of two-paced in the pitch, pushes at that one. We saw Andy Balbirnie caught and bowled by the leg spinner Gavin Hoey, but when you see shots like that, it usually means that there's a little bit of two-paced nature about the pitch. Don't think it was the slower delivery, although you might correct me there, Ali.
No, I don't think so. I think it was a little bit through the shot, but two sides of him there. Usually that's his straighty ball, stump to stump. Ball before was wide. That's his ball right there. Again, a little bit extra bounce there. So as we're sort of saying, these two have got to make use of this first 6 overs. Fairly standard thing in T20, but particularly today, I think. 143 on the board for the Warriors, and you don't want to be coming into the last sort of 10 overs needing 8 and over, 7 and over. Usually that would be reasonably comfortable. But I just think this particular wicket, they want to be just maybe putting it to bed quite quickly, and then they can sort of try and pick up the pace if they want, or just knock it around. So just apart from that wide ball on the third ball, which Tector put away.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think whenever you're on a slower pitch or a big ground, while the field is in and the ball is new, you want to make full use. Northwest Warriors got 49 in their opening 6 overs. I think that Leinster Lightning will be hoping to get at least that, if not more. David O'Sullivan will bowl the second over.
Yeah, he's going to bowl it to Dundonald then. Too bad for the Warriors, but I think today, particularly, I think if you could pick a player from the Northwest Warriors who you'd want on that field right now, it would be Ram Macbeth. He's been missing. If he was taking the ball here, I think these conditions would suit Macbeth right down to a T. Not to say, as I say, that David O'Sullivan can't do something similar, but this is just perfect for Ram Macbeth. He would bowl stump to stump and shape it both ways, which would test both sides of the bat, I think. Just a miss for the Warriors at the minute, Macbeth.
He does have that effort ball, David O'Sullivan. Quite a lot of work through the crease. He kind of always approaches quite slowly, and then everything happens at the popping crease.
Yeah, just commitments elsewhere for Macbeth at the minute. This tournament maybe just not suiting him just to be able to play.
It's a lot of days off if you're
it's a long
full-time
tournament. That's the slight downside with this. If you're not sort of full time in it, that other commitments do come into it. Just think he'd be really useful for the Warriors today. Obviously playing in the NCU, plays a lot at Stormont as well. It's not his home club, but he does play a lot here.
Down the leg side, saw a couple of those in the warm-up, but I don't think it's going to be given as a wide. It must have got something on the way through of Tim Tector's pad, or
the pocket area. I think it just clipped it through to Sam Topping.
I saw a few balls sprayed down the leg side in the warm-up. It wasn't making Boyd Rankin move up the charts in the mitting ladder. Oh, that's going to be a wide. Good half stop from Topping. Balbirnie quick thinking. Tim Tector had to take a quick step back inside the crease.
Yeah, just got to stay focused there. Quite easy. Just lose concentration just for that split second. Balbirnie was onto it quite quickly. Threw the stumps down, but Tim Tector hadn't moved.
Real nothing shot from Tim Tector, very unusual for him.
Yeah, he sort of I thought he was setting up there to sort of play that strong shot to the leg side, but then pulled out of it and then really did nothing with it. There's a funny thing in a 50 over an ODI game or whatever, a longer format, he had just left that. He was just said, well, I'm not in the right position, and I just left it at T20. We feel you got to go with something. That's a lovely shot. That's a beautiful shot to back that up. Previous one maybe wasn't much of a shot, but that certainly was beautiful mid-on. Beaten, and I always say if you can hit the ball in that area, you're in good nick.
Yeah, lovely shot. Just slightly too full from O'Sullivan. Transfer of weight, good hands from Tim Tector, and McBride, because there's no mid-wicket, he's quite tight in there and mid-on. I reckon if he was on the ring, he probably would have cut that off, but trying to cover a few different angles there. And after a nothing shot, the previous delivery, comes back strong, Tim Tector. And another boundary. So 2 and 2 balls to close out that O'Sullivan over. Costly for him. It was looking like a pretty good one. Use your hands, young man, in the deep.
Harry down there. Tell him off for that. Get your hands down. Get used to it. Use your feet. But yeah, bit of frustration there from the bowler and indeed his fielders. Come on, Harry. Didn't quite see it there. Get your hand down. Yeah, but a little bit of frustration there on that last ball. Bit of a giveaway. It just changes the over from a reasonable one to a decent one for the actual batting side then. 2 boundaries at the end of it. And 16 without loss from 2. And Tim Tector already on 13.
Mid wicket is in for Graham Hume. Looks like young Harry Dyer is going for a lap, so you can chastise him when he makes his way around to our part of the ground.
Most definitely. Plays at this club here, Civil Service North, which is club side here at Stormont. Again, trying to make room, access the offside, but followed him there, Graham Hume.
Quick single. Home safe and sound. Tim Tector got going very, very quickly. And they've started pretty well at those two boundary balls aside. I think the first of the two boundaries are not really a bad ball, just a good shot. The final delivery is the one that'll disappoint David O'Sullivan, but those two deliveries aside, I think it's been quite a tight start. And Northwest Warriors, rather than necessarily looking to take wickets, I think it's just try and keep these two quiet and see if that yields rewards in and of itself. An unforced error. There's that area that just gets a little bit of extra bounce. Doesn't have the pace of Matt Hollard, Graham Hume, so maybe just didn't quite rush Tim Tector in the same way, but it's almost like a tennis ball bounce from there.
Definite lift. See very clearly on your screen there, the lift he's getting there, and yeah, it seems to be a wicket where if you try and keep the runs to a minimum, the wickets can come with just deliveries that do something. Tector takes the aggressive option, doesn't get all of it. Jared Wilson chases after it, releases quickly to prevent it. Actually a really good throw. Thought he was just trying to just get that in the air, but it actually ended up right over the stumps.
Very theatrical from Wilson. I've never seen a throw like it. He threw kind of from the knee and did a full spin. Love to see that again.
Good yardage from a prone position. He was quite accurate as well. I think he was just trying to get it out of his hand to prevent the third.
It's a real Tim Tector shot, isn't it? Pick up from outside off. He uses the levers to send it wide of mid-on. He's going to change the field. 45 goes into mid-wicket.
Yep. Nothing on the leg side now.
Oh, good half stop that stung the hand of Scott Macbeth. It's almost exactly where Chris de Freitas wore one on the knee. It's just a little shake of the hand. Those ones sting, especially on a slightly colder day. I won't say it's cold, but saves 3. After 3, Leinster Lightning 20 without loss.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe the camera should come off Scott Macbeth there, because I think there are a few expletives maybe about to come out there. Yeah, it's been a few injuries right there. None, gladly, have been long-standing. That's that shot again with width. That just came to him on the half volley. He's done really well, actually.
Four wickets yesterday. Jared Wilson. We were talking off air, weren't we? And I was saying that I did not have that in my bingo card.
I don't think Jared Wilson had it on his bingo card, to be fair.
Nonsense.
But
who thinks they're going to bowl 2 overs and take 4 wickets?
We even talked about it yesterday. We didn't think that Jared would get 2 overs, but the first one certainly told his captain. And he ended up with the 4, as you say, in that truncated game. Starts with a single.
He's another one with the rag at the back, but I want to have a closer look at this, because I wonder, is this a tea towel that he's employing to dry the ball and dry his hands?
Hopefully there's no sponsor on it. Beer company or something like that.
Turn around, Jared. Yeah.
I think you're right. Torn off Torn off tea towel. Maybe he's superstitious. Carries it about with him.
A little tail. A little bit of zip, and I think it's been very clear he's been more comfortable bowling this week. Bowled with a bit more pace. Jared Wilson, I think, came on Krista Freitas quicker than he was expecting.
Yeah, being comfortable with your run up and your rhythm definitely makes a difference, and he seemed a little bit sharper yesterday. It's flayed into the offside, but there's a man out there. Robbie Miller.
A little bit of a sedate start this for Leinster Lightning. Those couple of boundaries in the last over from this end, very important to help keep them up with or in touch with the run rate required. That's nearing 7.5, which in T20 cricket that's definitely not beyond the bounds for this length of time, but they won't want it to keep climbing, and that'll help. Strays onto the pads, and Tim Tector swivels. I think that's the first 6 of the day. Comes off Tim Tector's hefty swing into the leg side.
Yeah, we haven't seen too many 6s at these couple of days, but right in the slot there for Tim Tector. That's gone a long way. He clears the boundary by some distance. And he picks up 6, and you keep talking about Izzy how 6s can really change a scorecard. I know it sounds a really, really obvious thing to say, but just picking up 6 here and there, and because I was just looking at 22 off 3.5. Extend that, you're probably looking at mid-40s, but immediately they're up to 28 now after that one shot.
Well, have a look at the run rate. After 1/6, the run rate has gone above run rate required. So when you get them early on in the innings, it's especially when you're not chasing something north of 160, makes a big difference. Big game coming up later on. Munster Reds taking on the Northern Knights, and that one might be another 6. It is. It's going to be another very big 6. A couple of costly deliveries from Wilson. 6.6, so not a good second half of the over. Tim Tector on the march.
Yeah, I remember actually this time last week when these two met. It was a fairly sedate start in that game as well from the Lightning, but I remember actually saying I think Tim Tector might fancy this here, and he really took on Jared Wilson in that. I think it was the 4th over again in that match, and he had a couple of 6s to the leg side boundary, and he's done something very similar there, and that just makes such a difference, picking up 2 maximums, and it takes the Lightning up to 34 now. Tector on to 29 off just 16.
17 he took off that over. It was the 4th over. Good memory, Ali McCalmont.
It's not the worst. I
think it was the only over he bowled in that game.
Yeah.
Jared Wilson, he got hit out of the attack. David O'Sullivan switches ends. And fumble in the deep. I think such good contact on the ball hurried Robbie Miller in the deep. Krista Freitas sitting on 6 from 9. He's been watching down the other end as Tector's heaved 2 enormous 6s. When we've seen at maximums here, it's generally only just about reached the rope, and we've had a few that have been, a centimetre or 2 one side or the other. We haven't really seen people clearing it like that. Oh well, what a catch that would have been. Those have to stick. Just held in the pitch. I think that wasn't where Krista Freitas meant to hit it. Dragged it back, and David O'Sullivan stuck the mitt out, but it didn't stick in his hand.
Yeah, I was, as you're suggesting, looking offside there in the same way as Christopheridis was. I thought the ball was heading offside, but it has, as you say, just held a little bit. And he was through the shot. Just happens to stick with O'Sullivan or not. We've got a little bit of rain right there at the moment, I think.
Yeah, and O'Sullivan has to go off. I think he's done himself a mischief with that attempted return catch.
Yep.
He's not going to be able to complete this over, which is not ideal at all for Northwest Warriors. Let's take a look. Where has it caught him? It's gone right into the mitt. It doesn't look like, I thought maybe it was a split webbing, but
that's what I
it doesn't
thought,
look
yeah.
like that. But it's going to be Josh Wilson to complete his over. This could be the moment that Leinster Lightning target. He's not someone that they generally bowl in the power play, Northwest Warriors.
Yeah, the rain I was just referring to there is very, very light at the minute. Can't really see any on your screen there, but
he's warming up there, but the two batsmen having a chat with Aidan Seaver and Mark Hawthorne.
see it and see we're just pointing at his hand there, maybe indicating that it has split that between thumb and first finger. Just that little bit of webbing maybe has split.
That's where you definitely don't want split, because very hard for that to heal. You need a good bit of time. The skin there gets very weak, and so you tend to open it up again. Done it myself where I split the webbing between, I think it was ring finger and little finger, but that one you can tape together much more easily. Tim Tector going well, 29 from 16, aided by 2 sixes in the last over. That's really elevated his score. Christopher Freitas not timing things as well as we're used to seeing from him, but he's still out there. 6 from 10, survives a chance, a sharp chance. David O'Sullivan dropped him there. Hume Misley as usual, just going at 5s. Jared Wilson expensive, especially in the second half of his over. It started so well. Tim Tector targeting him, and O'Sullivan won't get to complete his over unless, I don't know if they're waiting to see if he can get back on the field. Looks like there's movement at the tent. Johnny Kennedy over there overseeing things. It looks like he's making every effort to get back out there. This is his bowling hand, so it won't be comfortable if he has split that webbing. Then when you're doing the action of bowling, the blood tends to pump to the hand.
There's Johnny Kennedy in the purple top there beside Sullivan. He'll be relaying the information out to the middle. Don't want to delay too long here. Up ahead, it's still quite light, but just overhead right now there's a little cloud at the moment just above us. It's quite bright on the far side of the ground as we look. I don't think there's any major issue at the minute, but no action right now. 36 without loss from 4.2. So yeah, the Lightning, after that win yesterday and the night's defeat, obviously managed to pick up the bonus point as well. So that's given them that 1 game ahead. Yeah, it looks like they've been able to patch up O'Sullivan. He's jogging out there. Fair play to him. Quite easy just to say that'll do for me. Bit of a look at him here. Doesn't look to be too much strapping there.
No, well, of course it's his bowling hand, so he has to be really careful with what he puts on there. It's around the wrist and just the thumb and the space in between the thumb and the forefinger. Back underway. And goes for 4. It's coming right at us here. Oh, just about. Doesn't cause an injury. So O'Sullivan comes back from the injury and immediately goes for 4.
Yep, just drag that one down, leg side, and the Freitas will just help that round the corner. Didn't really need to put any power on it. You see that? Almost popped into the tent.
I was getting up. I was ready to protect you,
one of us was going to have to go there. Pick that one up. The Freitas picks up a boundary.
Much more convincing there, wasn't it? Cameron Melly in the deep, manages to keep it to 1. So this little bit of rain might be useful for Leinster Lightning because a bit of moisture on the surface helping to bring the ball on. We've seen it hold up ever so slightly now and then. A much more assured shot that from Chris de Freitas than the one that saw the injury to David O'Sullivan.
Yeah, definitely. It's not heavy, but it's just enough to maybe let it skid on.
Oh, not good behind the stumps. Difficult one for Sam Topping. Just skidded through and he had to try and collect it on the second bounce. Really difficult stuff, but not what they needed. 5 wides from O'Sullivan.
Yep. Just shoved down the leg side, kept a little bit low. And right on that half volley for Topping. And definitely not what was required. Tommy trying to keep the runs in check, and a ball may come along that will get you a wicket, but free runs like that. Their ball to the field. Just a single out to Miller. You mentioned earlier on about them trying to get on a par with the Warriors in their power play, so they're almost there with a free over to go.
Yeah, the last couple of overs have been costly for Northwest Warriors. Just let the grip slip. O'Sullivan got that injury second delivery, and since then he's gone for 11. Manages to get out of the over, but it's been an expensive one. 13 from it, 5 gone. Leinster Lightning 47 without loss. One over left in the power play. Another 6 deliveries that Leinster Lightning can target. It's going to be Andy McBride to see can he just stem the flow of runs, and if he can take a wicket at the same time, then more to the good. He's going to be really important for Northwest Warriors here, his 4 overs. It'll be interesting to see if Leinster Lightning just try and keep him quiet and don't give him wickets, or do they attack him as they tend to do in general. I want to see him bowl to Chris de Freitas and see if he bowls the slower, wider one. Chris de Freitas has just been guilty of chasing, coming down the pitch when there's been a width on offer and getting stumped.
Yeah, there has been a little bit of grip for the spinners so far today, and a little bit yesterday, but certainly today a little bit for Owe and Tector.
Fielder's in on the offside, so Tim Tector gives himself room. Be frustrated he didn't find the gap. Got great contact, but found Melly.
Here's your wish straight away. Look at McBride to the Freitas. Balberny's going to come across to what will now be the offside for the left-hander.
Long off, deep mid-wicket, the 2 out, so de Freitas will be tempted by that offside. Gives himself room rather than coming down the pitch. He's opting to try and go leg side of the ball.
Yeah, good contest here. He's going to bring up and push the point fielder out to the boundary. So now mid-off is the area. For the boundary, but he's happy enough to take the one.
.49 without loss. That's where the Northwest Warriors were at the end of their power play. I'm going to push for two. Krista Freitas is very quick, but Macbeth gets around. I reckon they probably could have got home, but
yeah,
decide that the risk isn't worth it, and the 50 up with that single.
Yeah, I thought that could have been two, and I would venture to suggest if the Lightning were setting a target, they might have pushed that a little bit harder. He's down the track, there you called it. Doesn't make good contact, but does make some contact, which was vital, otherwise he'd be heading off.
Yeah, not his usual stylish best. That shot from Krista Freitas had to just make sure he got something on it, and he was so far down the pitch, an easy single, even though mid-on was in the ring. Oh, Caramelli just slows it down. They'll come back for a couple. So pretty evenly matched after the power play and the batting between Leinster Lightning and Northwest Warriors. 6 gone. They're 53 without loss.
Yep, and it is quite tight in terms of runs, just the 4 between them, as you say. And then it becomes the difference between setting and chasing. Mindset in there, and this is when next couple of overs the Lightning started to pick up a couple of wickets, and momentum sort of fell out of the Warriors batting lineup. So the same thing has to happen, you feel now. They've got to get a breakthrough. I'll turn to Josh Wilson. As you mentioned, doesn't usually bowl in the power play, and David O'Sullivan managing to finish his over after that injury. Means that he will bowl the 7th. A little bit more protection.
He doesn't look dissimilar to Scott Macbeth, does he? So I thought maybe it was going to be a spin from both ends, but Josh Wilson given the opportunity straight out of the power play. Spin options for McBrien himself. Obviously he's already used, but he's got Robbie Miller, who's been impressive, and Scott Macbeth as well with his off spin. Decent start from Josh Wilson.
Yep, young bowler. Keep an eye on in the Northwest. Really produced bowlers recently, since Boyd Rankin to Craig Young. A lot of boys have come from the Northwest. I'd love to get a seamer, and Wilson's young enough to really develop now.
That's too short from him, though, at the pace he's got, and looks like he's overstepped as well. No ball called by Aidan Seaver. Too keen from Josh Wilson. So 5 from that ball and a free hit for De Freitas to come.
Yeah, I mentioned in the last over that came from that end, the 5 wides were freebies that they couldn't afford. Well, that's even worse. That goes to the boundary, and a free hit for Krista Freitas.
He's beaten Andy Balbirnie on the other side this time. Back-to-back boundaries, 9 from the couple of deliveries. And Krista Freitas finding good touch after being a little bit out of touch early on.
Yeah, that takes him up to 21 now. 62 on the board for no loss. We mentioned in the Lightning bowling attack that they just sense moments when to push. Something similar here. They've just sensed this little period over these last 2 or 3 overs. Picked up boundaries fairly regularly. Again, no panic. Even though they weren't scoring fluently off the first couple of overs, no panic.
Mid-wicket goes back as Wilson moves to round the wicket. Too short in those 2 deliveries. Really needs to get it fuller on this pitch. When these 2 batters are very good at pulling off the front foot when the ball sits up. Just seen a couple of those shots from Chris de Freitas. So once you get pulled off the front foot, you know, right, a yard or 2 fuller. The pace of Matt Hollard, I think that was around the length, or maybe even a little bit shorter. He was able to bowl at that. David Delaney as well with their extra pace.
Yep. It's the learning curve that Josh Wilson's on in this level of cricket.
Nice little nip away. Tim Tector quite deep in the crease there. So he's sweating on the shorter deliveries. Keen to take on the leg side boundary. Mid-wicket and square are right. Brains trust there, just having a chat with the young bowler, McBrien and Hume. If you're going to be short, be very short, I guess. That's good lift from Josh Wilson. I wonder if Hume was the one who suggested that. He gave him a big clap after delivering it.
Yeah, well, we talked yesterday and we're quite pleased in a way that Ruben Wilson had kept his place for the Lightning yesterday. Something similar here. Josh Wilson kept in the team. Could be bringing in, say, Harry Zimmerman or any other, but they've kept Wilson in the team here. Young bowler from the northwest. On short again, and he's got the wicket of Tim Tector. Really well caught there. I think it's Jake Egan there who's taken that, and quite nonchalantly just pockets it. And good wicket for Josh Wilson. He's got the opening breakthrough for the Warriors. Tim Tector goes for 34.
Threw the shot too early almost. Great contact, but neither went up nor went down. Tim Tector, if he'd waited an extra split second, he would have found the gap. If he'd gone down to up, it would have gone over the fielder. If he'd gone up to down, it would have gone along the ground, but no. I think that extra bit of bounce maybe surprised him a little bit. He's hit it straight to Jake Egan. And even though it was straight at him, it was a sharp catch. And there are lots of similarities between the 2 innings of these 2 teams. Northwest Warriors lost their first wicket on 64. Leinster Lightning do it on 63. Only difference being that it's a lot earlier in the game.
Yeah, McBrien will continue now. Harry Tector has come to the middle to replace his brother. As we talked about, this middle order for the Lightning hasn't been that proficient. So far, they've done the job since day one, though, winning all their games. They'd like to get a score here, even if it's a 30-40. McBrien to de Freitas.
Oh, and then back-to-back wickets. Looks to work at leg side. Chris de Freitas, all he can do is take the inside edge and cannons onto the stumps. Both openers in the blink of an eye back in the tent. That's the one they really wanted. Big cheers from the whole team. McBrien gets rid of de Freitas, 22 from 21. He was just looking like he was getting going. And Leinster Lightning lose their second, 63 for 2.
Yeah, similarities continue. Both openers now going in quick succession. Just didn't seem to pick the length there. Chris de Freitas had the forward press and then went back and got caught in between. And just edged it onto his stumps. can see the forward press and then heading back. Clip it leg side, and McBride too smart. Picks up his wicket. 63 for 2. That brings Lorcan Tucker out to the middle, who pretty much saw his team home yesterday. Did get out the very last over, as it turned out, but his 44 yesterday had broken that chase. They'll have to do something similar today, now that those 2 wickets have fallen. Just a little sniff for the Warriors here.
Lorcan Tucker, the captain out in the middle, he made some hard-fought runs yesterday. 45 from 40. Something similar should see his team to victory today, but he's up against Andy McBride, who's up and about. Field is spread. He's going to bring mid-off in the ring, just put a little bit of pressure on the new batsman. That Christopher Freitas wicket, I reckon he just tried to go too square with that shot, looking to hit it into mid-wicket for 2, but wasn't the line for it. I think if he'd punched it down to long on, it would have been a better option. So 2 batters, well, they were both on naught, from naught, before that single that got Lorcan Tucker off strike. Run rate's fine. Run rate required below 6.5. It's the wickets they'll want to make sure that they don't keep on losing. Harry Tector got just 1 yesterday.
Yeah, McBride will be relishing this here. Tector and Tucker, the 2 internationals.
Long on is out, so Andy McBride was ready to pounce on anything down to long on. Manages to make it 2 dots, turning the screw. Edged, and it flies past Andrew Balbirnie in slip. He's there really for the drive, not for the cut, but doesn't manage to go for 4. Off the mark with 2.
Yeah, again, perhaps not where Harry Tector was hoping that ball would go. He'll take it as it gets him off the mark. Last ball of the over. And off goes back. Tector's happy enough just to tuck that into the leg side. Maybe he will field. Just a single. Wicket off the first ball, and just 4 runs following that from Andy McBride. 8 overs gone. Leinster Lightning 67 for 2.
Important that Josh Wilson doesn't let Leinster off the hook here. Pressure needs to be kept on. Andy McBride having a long chat with his young bowler. I think a lot of it will just be about the length that he bowls, because he's bowling it into the pitch. That's what you need to do on this surface, but it just can't be too short. Good stop. Flashy sign from Scott Macbeth as he threw the hand out. They'll come through for a single, but he's saved 3 there.
Yeah, the war's a little bit. Scott Macbeth, he's doing a good job there. Really important area of point backward. That ball did fly, did well to stop it. It's 2, but Miller comes in off the boundary. Keep it down to 1 just. 2 singles to start the over. We talk about keeping Josh Wilson in the side. This is a big test for him.
I'll come back for a second here. Harry Tector so quick between the wickets, as is Lorcan Tucker. But he's making them work for their runs. I think that's the first job. If he can manage to bowl a couple of dots, maybe just a little bit straighter. If he can bowl on the stumps, he might manage to get with that length a couple of dots away. But he's doing his first job, not giving any easy runs, easy boundaries, I should say.
Well, yeah, that was the problem in the start of the previous over. That no ball obviously cost them the boundary, and then the follow-up. That's a good ball. Hector works it in the leg side, but 3 Warriors converge.
Great work in the deep. I think that's Jake Egan out there. He was off the boundary in a flash.
Really important, as we talked about. The bowler's trying to restrict boundaries. He needs a little bit of backup from his field. Doesn't want to give away 2 every time the ball goes into the outfield.
Now all the boundary fielders in off the rope. Big change since yesterday. I think some of them were definitely off the rope yesterday, but not all. Good anticipation. There's the first of the dots wanted. If he can bowl another one, he'll be handing the ball back to his captain with the pressure still applied on Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They don't want to just let them off the hook and give them a free couple of boundaries, which can't really afford. Keep the pressure on, having taken those wickets, back-to-back balls. Good shot from Tucker. Slightly overpitched from Wilson. Tucker's good enough. And kick of the turf from McBride. He'll be disappointed, just we've talked about. They can keep that down to a single at worst. But it goes for 4.
Yeah, opting to try and go straighter, and Lorcan Tucker, it's like he knew what was coming. Went a little bit deep, sends it straight of McBride, and now he's got to try and claw back some pressures. That one went for 9. After 9, it's 76 for 2.
Yeah, we often talk about first and last ball of an over. How batters target the first. And sort of the bowlers try and get out of the over in the last. That one just changed again. The last ball of the over just changed it. A fairly decent one. The one that the Lightning will be happy with. Coming up to halfway mark. Run rate not really an issue for Leinster. They'll feel it again from Egan.
I think if they can go at 5s against McBride, they'll take it. Run rate required just above 6, so if they get him 1 for 20, they'll be happy enough.
Jake Egan's been in the game here, took the wicket with the catch, and well in the field, and he'll be very keen to get involved in the field today after that absolute jaffer he got. First nut from Manny Hollard.
Dug out from Lorcan Tucker, but I think he was definitely looking for the sweep there. McBride gets it right up to him. Gets Gets it between the fielders, well directed, but just not the contact. Scott Macbeth will cut it off. Almost like a little golf chip that. I don't think he was really trying to send it all the way, was he? It was more about the placement.
Yeah, trying to put it in an area. I'll tell you what, there's a really good contest between bat and ball here.
Quicker one dug out and smelly in the deep. Just about manages to cut it off another couple.
There's a lot of estate to cover there. There's Cameron Melly. You get a little bit of help now as Egan comes across. Opens up the leg side a little bit for Tucker, and indeed McBride comes round the wicket now just for the last ball of the over. Single, and there's your 5+. The over, is he? He'll take that, I think. 1 for 16 from Andy McBride from his 3. Seems to suggest that a new bowler from this end in the next over. 82 for 2 at the halfway point.
Yeah, 6 and over against McBride, if you're not losing wickets especially, is a good result for Leinster Lightning, with 62 required in just 60 balls remaining. I think good news for Leinster Lightning coach Andre Boata that Harry Tector and Norcan Tucker starting to go through the gears, knocking the ball around, running well.
So we're going to get our first look this week. Robbie Miller, Eglinton player, really impressed last week, as we mentioned a few times. He wouldn't have been in the team at the start of the tournament, but grabbed his chance, took 6 wickets last week. Career best figures for the Warriors. We didn't see him yesterday, that 7 over game, but here he is today.
Yeah, it was a shortened game, 7 overs, so it's no surprise to see that he didn't get an opportunity with the ball a little bit wet out there after some very frustrating rain. Got 4 off his 1 delivery in the batting innings, so he'll be coming with confidence into the bowling half. Oh, brilliantly hit. That's such good direction from Harry Tector. Andy Balbirnie gave up on it pretty early. I thought maybe he'll cut it off, but he was miles away from it.
I just think that's the difference between some of the good players and the really good players. That was a decent ball from Miller on the stumps. It wasn't too short, too full, but Tector's able to use his feet. Good connection. Gets a boundary.
He's worried about giving the width now after that shot. I just wonder, is Andy Balbirnie, is it necessary for him to be quite so square on the offside? That's generally where the sweeper on the offside has been for all the teams. But with the pace on Robbie Miller's bowling, it's a little bit slower. Might be a little bit more difficult to wait and get power through the ball, beat point and send it for 4 in front of him. Another one down leg side, and Sam Topping can't catch up with it, as the sawdust helped him out there. I didn't quite see. It seems to have slowed down markedly. Maybe it's just an indication of the pace of Miller more so. He's probably one of the slower bowlers we've seen. Obviously he's a slow bowler, he's a spinner, but one of the slower spinners. 5 added to the total. They've had a couple of them 10 runs from just 2 wides so far in the innings.
Yeah, that's my only sort of criticism of he does just have that ball that drifts down the leg side and full, so really difficult for the keeper to get across. Almost on the half volley as it goes past Topping, and there's a couple of them last week.
Yeah, very difficult for Topping to move down leg too early as well, because he does angle it in, drifts it in, and then turns it away. So you only really can tell quite late that he's angled it in too much and it's going down leg side. So you have to feel for Topping behind the stumps there. It's the kind of thing, if you're playing with someone week in, week out, you might be able to pick it up, but maybe by the last festival we won't see any 5 wides.
Yeah, good running again. Saw the opportunity to get back for 2. Low risk cricket from these two, and 13 from the over. Without much difficulty. And it's 95 for 2 from 11 now, and the runs to win has dropped well below the balls remaining.
Andy McBrien and Graham Hume having a little chat at the moment, trying to decide what's the best way to use their bowlers. Going with Scott Macbeth, who we didn't see yesterday either in the 7 over chase for the Northern Knights. Andy McBrien just holding 1 over of his own back.
Yeah, I think Scott Macbeth's got that little reputation that some bowlers have of just picking up wickets when you don't expect it. Probably looking at what we've watched over the past 5 or so overs, these two look in now. They look very comfortable, in control of the game. Just something needs to happen. Either a mistake or a really good piece of bowling, but they need a wicket pretty quickly as the Lightning close in on the 100 mark.
Sometimes a change is as good as anything. You don't want them to get too used to Andy McBrien and just see him off and knock 1s and 2s around.
Just retakes his guard again. And work from Ellie again. He gets his hand to it, but can't do it. Can't keep it out. Gets away for 4. Those little things just mounting up against the Warriors as that brings up 100 now for the Lightning.
He's well off the boundary, isn't he? He's quite square again there, Cameron Melly. Should have done better there. You never want that when you're on the boundary. You don't want to be running back towards the rope, so it's not a comfortable position to be in. Toying with Melly here. That's the shot that he's there for, Melly. He's more there for the extra bit of pace and bounce. Protector in a good enough position that he can make sure to miss the fielder in the deep. Five on the leg side, so he's really not bowling to his field here. Scott Macbeth needs to get straighter. That's better. Rings long on into the game. Andy Balbirnie here in front of us. Looking forward to finding out about that catch off the boot or not off the boot.
Yeah. I'm a shite here. I think he's been looking for that from ball 1 there. So he indicated he was going to play that shot for the first ball of the over. It was wide. This time in the slot for the slog sweep.
Brilliant acceleration through. We've seen him play it down towards that area, but kind of bunting it, looking for 2. This time he was looking for 6 all the way. Leinster Lightning, a big point of difference. They've been able to get the ball over the rope. That's the third 6 in their innings. 2 from Tim Tector, 1 from Lorcan Tucker. That's going to be 4 as well. Gets between the fielders. So a really expensive over from Macbeth. 18 from it. And Leinster Lightning, that's the kind of chase it is. One big over can kind of put the game out of reach. 113 for 2 after 12.
Yeah, we'd said these two were starting to take control of the chase. They hadn't taken any risks or played any big shots, but that over really has pushed it on there. There is the details of a 50 partnership between Tector and Tucker. Just 29 balls in the end. 10 of those coming from the last 2 deliveries. And yeah, I was kind of not bemoaning the fact, but mentioning that the Irish internationals hadn't had a good start to the T20 tournament. Here's 2 out there at the minute. They've put on 50 and they've looked as comfortable as they have done sort of so far.
That's the most even partnership that we've seen. In fact, they made all their runs together. So 22 from Tector, 24 from Tucker. That's 6 just jumping him above Tector in the scoring rate. 24 from 13. He had to really grind yesterday, so very different innings today. That 6 and 4 helping, of course. Graham Hume returning, maybe just 1 over too late.
Another hazard of Stormont is the runners. Running, we mentioned about the walks. Lots of runners. Millie is again will have a lot of work to do out there. He's not going to get round. Very square. Man on the boundary, and that's pulled in front. Tector picks up another boundary.
Yeah, he's tall. Manages to get on top of the bounce. I think he rolled his fingers over that one, Graham Hume. Harry Tector waits on it, but tall enough to get on top of the bounce. Cameron Melly will be frustrated out there. He's been having to pick the ball up from over the rope far too many times. Good looking shot in between mid-off and extra cover, just not great contact. So they'll manage to cut it down to 2.
Yeah, I just think these two will now want to finish this as a partnership. Came together at 63 after those 2 wickets and 2 balls.
Nelly manages to actually stop one.
Yeah, I just think they'll want to go through with it now. Just 24 needed. Let's do this. Don't have anybody else coming in here. Let's put on the 80 or so runs that'll win the game.
Yeah, Tector didn't do it yesterday, so I think he'll be having a word with himself. Come on, see the team home. Walk over the line with both teams walking off the pitch. Good single. Called through from Tector. He's looking in good touch at this stage. Seems to have got the measure of the pitch, which a lot of people haven't done so far today.
I'm always hesitant to say that they look in here because that's almost a death knell and a cue for them to get out, but they do look in now. And even little things like that where Tector immediately realising that there's a single there and just calling Tucker through. They just seem to be very comfortable out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think the key to commentators' curse is just don't believe in it. We do not have the power, Ali, to actually make anything happen out there. Don't worry. Oh, that's it. Wide. Even for Harry Tector. It's just an area, especially bowling from the far end, where ball seems to have a bit of tennis ball bounce. You saw Matt Hollard got it, but his extra pace carried it through, took the wicket of Jake Egan. Seen maybe that wicket from Josh Wilson when he got Tector out, bowled about that length and extra bit of bounce meant that He actually hit it to the fielder.
Yeah, and as well as the ground dimensions being different, I think that is the difference. There is a little bit of difference in bounce here. Sometimes it can climb a little bit. Just one, it's into your head a little bit as a batter and you can't go through with it. Well bowled, but again, such an understanding. These two just dropped into the offside and comfortable single. So 123 for 2 now, just 21 needed for the Leinster Lightning. Still 7 overs to go.
10 from that over from Hume. It's been a good partnership for the third wicket between Harry Tector and Lorcan Tucker. Good start though from Tim Tector and DeFreitas. 34 for Tector, who managed to hit 2 sixes, and that really helped him get up to 34. DeFreitas and Tector dismissed in quick succession brought Tector and Tucker out, and they've gone about their business with acute professionalism.
Andy McBride doesn't want to hold his final over back anymore.
A real feeling of now or never about this game. A few wickets in this over and you never know. There's our phrase, Ali. We're getting to that stage.
Write it down, 13.1.
That's the kind of shot that DeFreitas was trying to play. Didn't get in as good a position. He also didn't have that line to play with. He's trying to fetch it from outside off stump. But I think he probably would have been able to get it into the leg side had his footwork been better. Down the pitch and launched. Lorcan Tucker wants to finish this in quick time. Another 6 off his bat. I've been targeting the clubhouse here, Leinster Lightning, and Andy McBride has to just watch it sail.
Oh, that's lovely. Made his mind up to come down and ended up right in his arc. Clean hit from Lorcan Tucker. Again, said he got 45 yesterday, but has looked fluent today. He was very frustrated at times yesterday, similar to that ball. There were lots of those, but not so many today. He has looked much more fluent.
Back foot to the leg side. We saw him do that a lot yesterday, but he didn't actually go to the leg side, is the problem. So it's not really a great fake if there's no actual danger of you doing it. So just the 13 required, 37 balls remaining. McBride, one delivery to see can he add another wicket to his figures. Tells tail sign you're in Stormont. The sirens going by.
Nicely bowled. Finish from Andy McBride. His 4 overs. And you talked about it. The Lightning, I think, would be happy to see him go with a run of ball. He does exactly that. There's your figures there. 1 for 24 from McBride. And they've tried the Warriors, but seems to be that the Lightning have just been too good today. Those 2 overs of spin from Miller and Macbeth going for 31. Going to give Robbie Miller a go. Maybe a little bit too late now for the Warriors, but to keep an eye again on the 16 overs. 13 required. Because the Lightning have won all of their games with a bonus point. I'm sure that'll be in the back of their minds at the moment.
I think the bowling just not tight enough for Northwest Warriors, defending 143. Nicely flighted. Lorcan Tucker lucky he didn't get something on that because it could have ballooned up to short third. decided not to come back for the second. Really no need for it. I'm keen to see the grip that Robbie Miller has on the ball here. Looks to me like he's got two fingers quite close together. Very unusual for a leg spinner.
Yeah, it's usually in the full part of the hand.
Launch down the ground. Harry Tector getting in on the act, sends that one for 6, his first maximum, the 5th of the innings, and they've added 30 with just 5 shots there. A real big point of difference between the teams.
Well, it's raining 6s in Stormont. There weren't very many yesterday. None with the Warriors, but Lightning have certainly decided that the boundaries are hittable, and as you mentioned earlier, most of them have cleared the ropes easily. Hasn't been a sort of maybe a 4 or a 6. These have been still going as they clear the ropes.
Well, Johnny Kennedy getting his steps up. That one's gone. That ball. He's managed to get to nearly the end of the game without having to actually give too many balls away. The ball bag comes out. Aiden Seaver, see if you can find one that's 14.3 balls old, please. And they've got it back.
They've got it back. There you go. I was just going to say it's down towards the second pitch here we talked about earlier. It's not the actual pitch itself, but there's plenty of green down there, so it should be findable unless it actually goes into the trees. And as you say, they've got it back. Just 6 more required for the Lightning. Quick check. The ball by Aiden Seaver. Most pointless thing in the world. Just a quick look and hands it back. Nicely bowled.
Rushed Harry Tector. Not really sure why he's gone on the back foot. Maybe because it's the quicker one from Miller, but probably should have come forward. Decides to come down the pitch on this occasion. I think it's a case of give yourself the opportunity to hit the 4 or the 6, but if it's not there, just knock it around. 5 from 31. Hey, they'd love to finish it here, Leinster Lightning. 1 hit. Gets out of the over. So apart from the 6, an excellent over from Miller. 6 slightly ruining it. 8 from it, 15 gone, Leinster Lightning. Within touching distance, 139 for 2.
Yep, to be fair, pretty decent from Robbie Miller again. Just that one ball slightly fuller that Tector took full toll of. That was the one that almost picked up Harry Tector.
We're in the Ali McCalmont over.
We are. I was just about to say
5 required.
Do you fancy a ball?
On you come.
0.2. Yeah.
I used to do it myself when I was captain. You don't want to give anyone else that job. Just go, all right, 2 to win, 3 to win, I'll bowl it. Josh Wilson's the Ali McCalmont of Northwest Warriors. I think McBride would have bowled it if he still had an over left, but he's bowled out. So it's Wilson switching ends.
Yeah, but as we say, this is the 16th over, so no doubt that Harry Tector will be looking to get enough from this over to win the game. Here comes Josh Wilson. Run down to third man, who is back.
You just get the feeling that Harry Tector was hoping for the fuller one, wanted to try and hit it straight back over the bowler's head, drops it short. Just has to drop the ball on it for a single.
Yeah, mid off, mid on, both up, so you can be sure that'll be an area 2 batters will be looking at.
Shuffles down. That's going to be a wide, you'd imagine. Pretty sharp.
Yep.
Actually, nearly gave himself an opportunity for it not to be wide because Tucker came down, so when it passed him. Not sure what the chat is. Who he's chatting to there, Lorcan Tucker? Someone.
I think it was the umpire, just after the wide.
Give him the wide.
Yeah.
Why is he complaining? There it is. 6 more, just about gets over this time. Different to a lot of the other 6s in that it just about managed to clear the ropes, but it does so. And a very bright and breezy partnership between Tucker and Tector. They're almost, well, they actually are blow for blow, but Tucker's faced 7 less balls, 39 each for numbers 3 and 4 for Leinster Lightning. What we thought might be a tricky chase has turned out to be pretty regulation for Leinster Lightning. They continue their winning ways after a loss in the first round, and Wilson gets launch for 6.
You want to finish a game, that's the way to do it. He was kind of waiting on that. Slightly shorter length and happy to hit the ball out of the park, and that is the difference here really. Lots of 6s hit by the Lightning. That'll really help your cause. 15.2 overs. They close out the chase, 147 for 2, and I think the most pleasing thing for Andre Bota will be that these two saw it through from that 84 run partnership. Close the game out, no dramas for the Lightning, and they take the points.
Yeah, 6-6 is doing a big job for Leinster Lightning there. If you take those out, then it really would have been a tricky chase for them. They would have been much closer to 100 than 147, but as it is, they had the power required. And Northwest Warriors will feel maybe they let an opportunity slip at the halfway point in their innings. They were 78 for 2, and you'd feel like they could have doubled that, got closer to 160, maybe even more than that. But they're batting at the end. You can see they're just not really contributing enough. Good starts from topping Balbirnie and McBride. Balbirnie top scoring on 44. Hume the only man outside the top 3 to get out of into double figures, so they finished on 143 after a good comeback from Leinster Lightning.
Yeah, the partnerships right up the top again. It's been fairly similar for the Warriors up top. 64 from topping Balbirnie. And then that middle order, a couple of wickets fell. Egan and Macbeth for 2 noughts. Had to rebuild. McBride and Hume with 29 and McBride and Millie with 20, the only ones of note after the opening partnership.
Good bowling from Leinster Lightning. McCarthy took 2 wickets, was slightly expensive, but he did have to bowl in the power play and at the death. Good from Hoey as well. He only got 3 of his overs, 1 wicket for him, 1 for Tector and Delaney as well. Matthew Holler coming back into the team today, probably the pick of the bowlers, 2 for 20 from 3 for him.
So a chase of 143 for the Lightning, and they got off to a good start from Tector and DeFreitas again. It's been a sort of theme through this tournament. The opening partnerships, they were good again. And then the partnership was broken back to back, and Tector and Tucker came together. And just a little period there where you thought the Warriors were coming into it, but a terrific partnership between these two. 39 apiece from 28 and 21 respectively.
A tale of 2 partnerships, 63 at the top, then a couple of quick wickets, and Harry Tector and Lorcan Tucker finishing with 84 in quick time, each contributing exactly the same amount and extras pitching in as well.
And the Warriors line up 7 bowlers used in the end. Just they didn't have enough runs on the board. O'Sullivan was quite expensive in his opening 2 in the power play. Also Jared Wilson, so it meant that the pressure wasn't built on the Lightning enough. Those 2 wickets from McBride and Josh Wilson just give them a glimmer of hope, but and the spinners went for 39 off 3.
So after a good start for the Warriors with Balbirnie and McBride scoring 44 and 33 respectively, Leinster Lightning's bowlers stuck at their task and kept them the Northwest Warriors to probably an under par 143 for 8, and then the batters really growing into the tournament. Coming to the party, Harry Tector and Lorcan Tucker making things look a little bit easy out there. 39 not out for each of them after a good start from the openers. The Northwest Warriors just not on the money today. So another win for Leinster Lightning. They stay at the top. They win by 8 wickets in the first game today here in the ward at Stormont. We have more cricket coming up for you very shortly. The Northern Knights looking to bounce back after a chastening loss yesterday, and the Reds as well were on the losing side. So somebody will get their first win of the week this afternoon. We'll be on air shortly before 3:45. Join us then, but for now, it's good afternoon.